What's up, everybody, and welcome to What You Mean podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. It's Simon Cotton, Rance Morris, and James Boyd. What's going on, fellas?
We back.
What's going on, fellas?
Nothing much, can't complain. SummerSlam is coming around, NXT Takeover. The G1 just finished up, so obviously we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a while since all three of us have done the show. The last one for me and Rance. Was that after WrestleMania?
The last Skype conversation you had was on the 31st of May, so yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, but it's been about 3 months since we've done one of these. We're way overdue.
Yeah. So, like I said, we got a lot of topics today, but I think I want to talk about something that all of us got a little stake in. One, because either we're a fan of one of the people, but I think since it's revolving around my city, I think I should be the one to lead off with this. And that is the situation involving former WWE superstar CM Punk and Colt Cabana. Now, as many of you know, CM Punk went on to Colt Cabana's podcast in late 2014 to his interview and talk about some of his issues and some of the things that led to him leaving WWE. After this, Dr. Amen, who CM Punk spoke about in the podcast and talked about some of the alleged medical malpractice and mistreatment, Dr. Amen sent a letter to Colt Cabana to ask him to issue a retraction and to take down the episode. And this is where it gets good, because I looked at the Chicago Sun-Times article, and obviously it gave some of the more details of how that case even came to be. And as it turns out, Colt Cabana talked to CM Punk about the letter he received and the demands that were made, which more than likely would have meant that that Colt Cabana wouldn't have been sued at the very least. So he went to CM Punk, and CM Punk allegedly said, "Hey man, I've got this one. You'll be 100% covered," or something along those lines, which led to Colt Cabana the podcast up, which ultimately resulted in the lawsuit from Dr. Amon. And this eventually led to Punk and Colt Cabana being represented by the same firm. And as I said earlier, he said he'd be 100% covered by his lawyers if anything came down. Well, as of last week, the Chicago Sun-Times, a lawsuit has been filed by Colt Cabana against CM Punk for a breach of, I don't want to say a breach of contract, or fraud.
Yeah.
For not covering the legal fees like he said he would. Now, the bill that, according to the messages Punk and Cabana had, the bill for the legal fees was about $500,000. I'm not going to give you the exact number, and it boiled down to about $250,000 each. And even though Punk said initially that he was going to cover it, for whatever reason, he told Colt Cabana that he was going to have to fit the half of the bill for the legal representation. And eventually this leads to Colt Cabana trying to get new counsel about a year ago. And ultimately Punk's lawyer says he can represent both of them despite the issue. And then at some point, despite Punk's lawyer and Punk coming to disagreement, Colt Cabana has to seek new representation with the case. And even though it eventually leads to even though CM Punk and Colt Cabana don't have to pay Dr. Amon anything, Cabana is still stuck with the legal fees he has from the new counsel plus the former counsel with CM Punk's firm. And when Punk didn't want to pay on the alleged promise he had, that's when Colt Cabana sued for, and get this, $1.2 million.
Well, it's $2 million for the actual. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, $200,000 for the actual charge and $1 million punitive damages.
Yeah.
So basically, you hurt my feelings, so that's the extra money.
Yeah. So
you want to jump in, James? You want me to go? Because I'm hot.
Can I, if you don't mind, can I just finish this thought real quick?
Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
Let me just say this. Now, keep in mind, we have not heard CM Punk's side of this story. So as far as we know, there's been some other disagreements, some other things they've talked about in this discussion that ultimately show that Colt Cabana might be in the wrong in this case. but at this point, that's kind of an extreme speculation because from everything Colt Cabana's provided, it'd be hard. I don't see a situation in which CM Punk looks like a good guy. This is not the first story in which CM Punk has turned on a friend for petty reasons. You've got it with Hornswoggle. I'm not sure if it's with Kofi Kingston or even Paul Heyman or whatever the case, because none of these guys really talk. Corey Graves specifically talked about it. So with Hornswoggle and Corey Graves, multiple times where these guys were talking about how after Punk left, they tried to just continue casual conversation, random, like how you hit up most of your friends, and then Punk would just say we're not talking anymore, and all these other things. This isn't the first time this story has come out. Not to mention the fact that the entire reason that Cabana was brought up in this lawsuit was because Punk specifically chose Cabana's podcast to do this interview. He could have done an interview with Chris Jericho, like he was on there's a YouTube show on Michigan Pro Wrestling Report. Those guys offered him a chance to talk about the WWE stuff. And I'm sure he had a multitude of offers that he had to give his little interview. He specifically chose Colt Cabana, his friend's podcast, because, and I quote, I didn't want to deal with anybody with their agendas. So while he gives his interview, Colt Cabana gets tied up, has his lawsuit in front of him. He goes to Punk like, maybe we should just take it down. And allegedly Punk says, hey, I've got you covered. If that is the case and Punk decides to back out of it, he's completely in the wrong. Like there's really no excuse for it, because because the only things that what could Colt Cabana possibly really done that's been so horrible that I love to hear that from CM Punk whenever that comes out. But as it stands right now, this just seems like CM Punk being petty, and yeah, CM Punk being petty. That's all I gotta say.
Well, let me jump in real quick, James. So, and it's important to note that Punk and Cabana already had beef before the trial, because Cabana went to WWE backstage to a show to interview a guy or hang out with one of his friends or something, and Punk felt like it might have been after the lawsuit, it might have been after they got subpoenaed, something like that, and Punk was like, we got beef with them. Why would you do that? And they had a falling out. So you can add that they'd already had some type of falling out.
But like how would he didn't go to specifically talk to Dr. Mons? How would it really jeopardize the case?
Right. I'm adding to the pettiness of Phil Brooks. Right. This is a guy who ended a friendship with somebody who, by every stretch of the imagination, was one of his closest friends there, Hornswoggle, because the dude hit him up and asked him for a friend's number. Like, this goes to the pettiness of Punk after he's left WWE. So, to the lawsuit, if you've read the deposition and all of the exhibits, there are the text messages where Cabana hits Punk up and says, hey, should I do something about this? I just got a cease and desist to take it down. Punk's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Okay. He gets a subpoena. He says, hey, I got another one. He was like, is it still the same thing? Yeah. Well, you know what? I got you. Well, don't worry about it. I'm taking care of it. They have also the emails from the correspondence between Cabana and Punk's lawyer, who, again, Punk said he would take care of him, saying, Phil said that you need to pay. Will you pay? He said no. The response was, well, I'm still prepared to represent you anyway. Phil's going to take care of it. So it don't look good for your boy Punk at all. And so I have a theory, and James is gonna laugh at this because James always laughs at my theories, and I have no factual basis of this, but just from I followed the trial with Dr. Man pretty heavily, and all of this. I've read everything there is to do with both of these trials. I think that Cabana did not. I think Cabana perjured himself. I think Cabana lied for Punk on the stand to get them out, to help their story.
How so?
Because if you read
no, I mean like in what instance would you say like he said this, but I think that was a lie?
The fact that he actually saw the fact that he actually saw the boil or the cyst or whatever. I don't think he ever saw it.
Okay, but wasn't it multiple people that saw the bull, not just Cabana?
They brought in a dermatologist, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but remember, a big part of the trial was the size of the boil, because the whole reason it got to that point was because people have cysts. That's not the big deal, but he said it was to the point where it was noticeable by
Staph MRSA.
everybody, and it was staph. It was never staph. Punk never tested it for staph because he was told it wasn't staph from the very beginning, the whole nine, and the size of it was a big part because he said it was like the size of a baseball, right? So if it's the size of a
Didn't
baseball,
WWE release some video about that?
yeah, the show it was creepy as hell, but basically showing his
Yeah.
ass the whole Royal Rumble, and there is no noticeable thing. Punk also admitted, and that's another thing about the trial. All three of us never talked about this, but Punk and Cabana won the trial because one, the doctor couldn't prove that his job was affected, and two, the doctor's lawyers were shitty. But the doctor, I believe, was in the right.
Yeah, and also the doctor was like, my integrity has been called into question, and then like you find out, oh yeah, like I've broken hip a bunch of times, and like
Yeah.
You're talking to other wrestlers about a patient's care. You're sleeping with a patient.
Like this was a situation where this to me, right? It hasn't been verified yet, but this screams a situation where, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but companies and rich people, they back lawsuits against people that piss them off for whatever reason, no matter how big or how small it is.
I don't believe that.
Right? So, well, I mean, you don't believe Daniel Bryan, the whole Daniel Bryan story happened, but like my whole point was, like, people back these kind of lawsuits just to try to fuck with other people's lives up all the time. Like, am I saying that Vince is beyond doing or wouldn't do nothing like that? No, because I mean it's Vince McMahon crying out loud.
Sure.
Am I saying for sure he did it? No, because I don't know. But you look at this lawsuit, it's like all these people are like bad at their jobs or terrible people. So it's like, all right, like nobody deserves money. Y'all move on with y'all day and go to hell, right? Like just move on. Like, and then you go to this whole CM Punk and Cabana thing at this point. It's like, I mean, I hope there weren't people that were on the illusion that CM Punk is like some
demigod.
Above reproach.
Above reproach, just an infallible guy. Because like, I mean, CM Punk has always been a guy that's been a mark for himself and always been about himself first and foremost. And that's one of the reasons. I guarantee that's one of the reasons, part of why he made it to be as successful as he was in the wrestling business. Especially at the time when the era was changing, everybody is basically about being, for the show, for the betterment of the show, betterment of promotion. Just happy to be here type of crowd where he was different, where he was more like the guys of yesteryear, and that's kind of the reason why he made it where he went, along with the talent and work or whatever else. But like knowing we kind of the details around this guy and his life and whatever else, like that doesn't surprise me if he like, oh, okay, so he's cheap, right? You think any cheap people are just willing to be like, yeah, $250,000, I got you. Regardless if he's your best friend or not. Like,
he picked up but it's like, when you think about how much money he picked up and all this stuff and how this is basically his, even though Dr. Amon's lawsuit wasn't something that, I don't know how to say this without just saying it, it's basically his fault.
Who?
Like, the reason they got sued is because CM Punk was talking about Dr. Amon, mentioned him by, like, he didn't have to do that.
If this was not even,
I'm not saying, but if he felt he had malpractice and all these other things to him, he has the right to speak what's truthful. But like as we found out through the trial and some other things, like, no malpractice. It was staph MRSA. It was the size of a golf ball. It's like, yeah, well, it wasn't actually that. Like, that's a pretty big difference. So it's like, and like I said, the fact that he just picked up a $500,000 purse with UFC from that fight he had is like. It's not like you're not hurting for money, and this is kind of an issue with that you.
We don't know that. We don't know if he's hurting for money. Like, the thing is this, right?
He shouldn't be.
We hear that he's cheap, and we remember that he was a number 2 guy in the company for roughly 2, 3, 4 years, whatever.
2011 until January 2014.
Yeah, we assume that people have assumed that he has like at the time when he left, that he has $10 million or something like that from the amount of money he made at the time. The problem is, like, look, man, Sam, we don't know anything about this dude, so who knows what he's done with that? We don't know if that man spent money to help build a hospital. For all we know, we don't know if he's wasting that money down his nose. We have no idea. So I say that joke because the straight edge thing.
Sure.
But we don't know, right? We have no idea we don't know how anybody does with their money or whatever else. All we know is $250,000 is a lot of fucking money, and whether he had $20 million or $20, ain't nobody gonna be enthused to pick up that bill for some shit that's like.
But you're right.
But
what you're not acknowledging is he said, "I got you."
Right? No. I'm not saying that like he's in the right. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is nobody should be surprised that a guy that's a prick is acting like a prick. That's basically all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, nobody should be surprised that this guy is on that. Like.
But then you have to acknowledge that he's a prick, and most of his fans online don't care that he's a prick, and no matter what he does, they're always going to stick up for him.
But that's weird. Like I thought that was a part of the charm for him, was the fact that he's a prick and we like him. Like that's kind of like Austin's charm too. Like Austin is a prick in real life. That's why we kind of all gravitated towards him. I don't get it. Like people think this all will work. Every single part of it. Nothing. Everything is completely like Vince McMahon. Like everything is the brainchild of Vince McMahon. Even other people's personalities and mannerisms. That's weird.
I mean, I guess you like to think, even though some people are pricks, that they'd be nice to the people in their lives.
Well, this is your best friend. This has been your best friend for 15 years, right?
Apparently, he had a falling out with this dude.
But then look to why they had a falling out.
What type of falling out could you have that a best friend of years, somebody you basically wrestled and grew up with it, as and all this stuff on the road, is like, what could have happened? Because the only two things I can possibly think of,
maybe Punk's a cup.
And they're both, keep in mind, they're both petty as hell. The first one is that, as we all know, Colt Cabana went backstage and saw some of his friends, which is petty. The second one is him wrestling Ryback because of how Punk viewed Ryback, and he took 20 years off my life.
Have
he
they
broke
ever
my ribs.
Have they wrestled since Ryback?
Huh?
Have they wrestled since Ryback been on the Indies?
No, they just had one match somewhere. I remember seeing on YouTube. I was like,
okay.
I could have swore Punk hated Ryback. That's kind of weird. But even so, it's like you couldn't have been that hurt from that fight from those matches if you're gonna hop right into UFC, not a smaller MMA promotion, UFC, as in the biggest mixed martial arts company in the world.
And that's the thing. Because I had so many, like, there was parts of that podcast that he did with Cabana that I could understand and absolutely accept. And there's parts of it that really bothered me. And one of them was, and yes, we know that the wrestling business, WWE in particular, will eat you up, chew you up, spit you out, use the hell out of you, and then you can't work no more. We know that. Yeah, we know this. This is factual, right? But the thing that he didn't acknowledge to a point enough for me but I accepted it and wanted it because I wanted to prove it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if you really hurt, you're the champ. If you're that hurt, bro, take the time off. But no, I got to get back because I want to prove to them I'm champ. Well, then you're accepting the fact that they asked you to come back. You didn't have to. When he had the TLC match with Ryback, he had orthoscopic knee surgery 2 weeks before that.
Like 4 weeks.
No.
It was fresh. I remember the time. It was like.
I thought he got his knee. Okay, so I was at the first Raw of 2013 because I was in Tampa, right, with Rich, and that was supposed to happen at TLC, right? That's supposed to happen at TLC December pay-per-view, right?
Which is why that's when the Shield debuted. Yes, they had their first match because of Punk getting hurt.
Okay,
he didn't get his knee scoped like at Survivor around like close sooner to 6 week more.
What happened was like there was some episode where Punk took a lie detector test about his involvement with the Shield. Him and Ryback have a scuffle and a power bomb. I don't know if it happened during that fight or if it was something that bothered him from like a house show or something. But after that show, he's not on WWE television wrestling. He's barely even talking, and that's when he gets the knee surgery. So that's like 4 weeks before January.
Okay.
And the timeline for his recovery was like 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Or at the very least, it was 5 to. It was really close to being. Maybe you could come back and maybe you can take another week. It was one of those things.
He came back a little early, and to come back to a TLC match, no less.
Yeah.
First match back.
All right.
Like, you could have took the time off. You know what I'm saying? Like you had choices, and I mean, you have doctor's notes and things like that. You didn't have to let yourself get abused by the company to the extent that you're claiming that they abused you. And
we don't know that for sure, Rance. Because here's the thing. We don't we don't work there. We think we know certain things, but we don't. And we also got to think of like what CM Punk like at that time in his career was at. Like he was at the highest point of his, or one of the highest points of his career. Like
sure.
Right, so like it's kind of like, remember when Austin broke his neck or got what paralyzed, whatever else we were talking about this a little earlier about, we were talking about Takahashi and then Austin's neck or whatever else. Like you don't know if you're gonna get back to this point or whatever else. Like granted, it's just a knee scope or whatever else, but like you CM Punk, you look like CM Punk. You can't just take for granted that like, oh, okay, I am the champ. Like of course they'll let me just go past Ryback or whatever on the road to this bill with The Rock at Royal Rumble. There ain't no guarantee on that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
From his perspective, there ain't no guarantee on that.
No, you're absolutely right. But then let's look at hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. 3 years later, he's not even in the company anymore. So like, and I know that you can't put the two together because who would have known, right? But what I'm saying is, at some point, these guys need to take care of themselves. And a guy like Punk, who was hurt all the time, right? Maybe not injured, but hurt all the time, and coming back early for every injury and working through stuff he should have taken time off for by his own admission. Like, to sit here and say, well, the company abused me, okay, but you also had the opportunity to sit out sometimes when you needed to. And I get it. I get you got to keep your spot, this, that, and the other. But as he knows now, what's more important, your health or a couple of months of fame?
Yeah, but that's also easier to say for us and also easier for him to say when he's not actually in that pressure cooker in that environment. Just like when we talk about football players when they have injuries or whatever, and the coach, and they're not coaches or training staffs who are literally in the pocket of the team or people that are out here rush you back onto the field or keep you off the field based on whatever they're really trying to do, whatever else. And like your whole thing is like, only thing I can worry about is myself and trying to get back out there because this is how I make my money right now at this specific time. Like that's different than like it's different than when a football player is outside of that and be like, you know what, this was done for me to go out here and fake my my baseline test for concussions, and then like I get a concussion in a playoff game and then or any old game, and then I just like go back out there or whatever else, and now I might end up with fucking CTE and Alzheimer's and all types of problems after that. Like we can't put it on people that are in power or at the bottom of a power imbalance to come out here and make the right decision on behalf of them. We got to hope that coaches,
absolutely.
Athletic departments, universities, high schools, like take advantage of the people that are doing the work out there or whatever else for whatever reason. I hope that like they have their best interests at heart and not just look at these dudes as just literally bodies. That's the best we can hope for, because there's just a gigantic power imbalance on that. And like, look, I mean, you can move on from, or I don't know if you want to go on the CM Punk thing, but I'm kind of tapped out on it.
Yeah, that's just about all I really have to say. I'm really interested to see what CM Punk's rebuttal to this is going to be, because as of right now, he looks terrible. With all the history, with the text messages and all the stuff that Cabana has, the defense for this is going to be interesting. Like
he won't say anything. He won't say anything.
He doesn't talk to anybody anymore. Like he doesn't.
Well, how about this, right? If it goes really bad, and he ends up losing enough money, maybe he does have to come back to wrestling.
Did you see that article that apparently Dave thinks that was WWE's goal the whole time, to split them up?
Dave
and Meltzer.
Wait, what happened?
Apparently he alluded to or said in one of his podcasts or something that he thinks the whole goal the whole time was for the lawsuit was for them to split up Colt Cabana and Punk's friendship, and to maybe tap Punk of some actual funds and like deplete him of his money.
I mean,
that was the goal of.
Would you want Punk coming back to wrestling if with all this anger and hatred?
Well, Vince brought back Bruno. Vince brought back Hart. Vince brought back Warrior. Vince brought back Hogan a million times.
Listen, this what I will say on that, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe, but what I will say is, this is a very, very different WWE than it was when Punk left. Like at the time, the Indies were not as hot as a thing and a thing you can make money on. Like CM Punk going and do the potential of him being on the outside right now and doing shows or comebacks or whatever else, the potential of that is still there. And what regardless of what you think about whether or not Vince is like, whether or not he's just literally just hoarding talent or whatever else, like, that the idea of him being out there, he'd rather have him make a comeback if possible in WWE than somewhere else. Would anybody disagree on that one?
Let Vince find out that CM Punk's is having a one-off match at the ROH New Japan Pro Wrestling show at Madison Square Garden.
That'd be a hell of a get.
He gonna try and blow that place up.
He gonna try and blow it up. Oh Lord! See, I want to make a joke, but I can't because that's New York City, so I can't say the joke I want to say. So I'm gonna leave that alone.
Oh,
yeah. Certain cities you just leave alone.
Yeah, I'm not going. No, I'm gonna say it. No, I'm not. Never mind. I'll say it off there. People gonna look, because the thing is, it's a joke. It's a joke from this TV show Veep, but people don't watch HBO like that. I ain't gonna do it.
All right. Well, I think that just about covers that. Next, I want to talk briefly about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, as many of you know, Hiroshi Tanahashi recently defeated Kota Ibushi to win the G1, and as of right now, will have the opportunity to face the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 13 presumably in the main event. Now, Rance, the reason we're bringing this up is because you've had a lot of strong opinions about Tetsuya Naito and everything that you've had a lot of strong opinions about Tetsuya Naito and how they've kind of disregarded him and they put him to the side at Wrestle Kingdom 12 when he didn't win the championship. And then I'm assuming you would feel to the same degree a little bit with Kota Ibushi, how he's white hot, this great story you could potentially tell with Omega, and now even that's been ripped away again. So, like, what's your thoughts on Hiroshi Tanahashi winning the G1?
So, you guys, if you listen to this, you've listened to me enough to kind of get an idea of me. But as is a joke on all the other shows, consistency is important to me. And I understand that New Japan and WWE are completely different companies, but they're still built around the same thing. Professional wrestling, which is a scripted entertainment venue with simulated fighting. So, at the end of the day, right, while you might go about it different ways, the goals are both the same, right? So it bothers me that every small little thing WWE does, people want to criticize, which 90% of the time is fairly legit. But New Japan can make the same mistakes and nobody will say anything about it. So the Naito situation, I've heard many people liken it to if Daniel Bryan lost at WrestleMania 30 and then won the IC title and got squashed by a part-timer at SummerSlam and then was disregarded for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, Naito was at his absolute hottest, and this is important to note, was a redemption angle. He lost in his redemption angle, won the IC title, lost the IC title pretty
quick interjection. Did you watch that video on Showbuckle with the Tetsuya Naito stuff from YouTube?
No, I have not.
I saw it. I saw a bunch of their videos before, like, they got cease and desisted. But yeah,
that's a whole other issue. But go ahead, Rance.
Right, but and then loses the IC title in essentially a squash match to a part-timer we haven't seen since, right? And okay, cool. that's a problem to me. Because if this was WWE, people would have a problem with that. That's one issue. Let's get to Tanahashi. Tanahashi is a legend, one of the best of all time. The ace. Everything you could say good about Tanahashi is true. Tanahashi is a 7-time world champ. Tanahashi has very clearly been out of the main event for some time now. I understand he's the ace, and I know how that works in Japan. I've learned and all that. But
was Wrestle Kingdom 10 the last time he main evented?
Yes.
Yeah, so. because 11 was the great, the 6-star match, and then last year was Naito's turn.
Yeah.
And
no, go ahead. What did you say?
It was just gonna be a stupid joke about the debut of Okada's stupid pants.
Oh. Yeah, well, the pants better than Scooby Doo, but that's
I will never ever look, man. The pants are ugly. However, this dude is still a great wrestler. Is everything he gonna talk? Is that that's the number one thing about him this year? It's not the fact that he like one of the greatest championship reigns I've ever seen is gone. It's about the number one story is his pants and his hair now. It's like. And I'm my favorite guy. Is my favorite New Japan guy. But still, it's like, hey, man, can we stop talking about his fucking pants for now?
Hey man, when you that good, people nitpick.
I guess so.
That's got to be what it is.
I guess so.
There's nothing else to talk about. So, but let me get on Tanahashi and Ibushi real quick, and I want you guys to jump in. So again, and I know I hear Josh in my head. I know that I'm going to get criticized for comparing the two companies because they're drastically different. They're built different. They're booked. I get all that. I understand and acknowledge that. But when you have a ready-made, perfectly built story that almost feels like it has to culminate in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom between Ibushi and Omega, you have that story. This will be the third match, right?
This would have been the third match. Or at least... Yeah, I think it's the third match. I think the first match was when they got kicked out of when they're in DDT and they got kicked out because Ibushi did the moonsault off of that was Budokan, right?
Budokan,
they're back in Budokan. Yeah, the two Budokan matches. I think are the only two matches they've had.
And then you give it to Tanahashi, right? So I remember I would equate the G1 and its prestige to the Royal Rumble. Right, I understand the different matches.
More or less, you went at this point now. You win it and you get the main event of the biggest show of the year. So
Yep.
Okay. In that sense, yes.
So Shinsuke won this year, but before that, in WWE, each year before, it was either somebody who was older and established, or the fans didn't want to win. And Tanahashi's loved in Japan. I get that. So people were going to be happy he won, but the criticism was still that Orton won. Orton doesn't need to win. Cena won. I know I'm going a few years back, but he didn't need to win, right? Batista won. He didn't. All these things, Triple H won, and they're true. But it's okay because Tanahashi won. All I'm asking is to have the same energy for both companies. And I understand that right now New Japan is hot. Right now, people want to give New Japan the benefit of the doubt because they've hit a lot of the right notes. But right is right and wrong is still wrong, and criticism still needs to be given. And the same things that we're gonna criticize WWE for, we're gonna in New Japan it's completely fine, acceptable, and we like it. That don't sit well with me. It just don't work for me. It doesn't do it. It doesn't work for me. So now, in my point, I understand the G1 was great. It was great. What was the point? What was the point? Well, if we were just gonna stick to the same guy, what was the point?
Okay, so I think what happened was, from this is from what I can tell, right? It felt to me that Naito absolutely should have won at WrestleMania 12. And I said Okada's my guy, but I was like, this is where it ends. He's had a great title run. He's had probably the best title run I've ever seen any wrestler have with the top title in any promotion that I've seen. Right?
I'd agree with that.
But Naito is clearly the guy, and you watch these Okada matches. Obviously, there's not really the heel facing in New Japan isn't nearly as pronounced as it is here, right? But
right.
Every time Okada is in a match, starting from the Naito match. Every time he's in a title match, the crowd is begging, is living and dying with the guy he's wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Naito was smoking hot. This was the perfect time to make him the new guy. Now, they decided not to do that, obviously, and they decided to have him call out Tanahashi to try to stop the Reigns record, the title defense record, and he went past him. And then the very next pay-per-view after he passed the title defense record, he loses to Omega. Yeah. He gives it to Kenny, and then Kenny becomes the 5th guy to hold the title over the last 6 years, something like that, right? So now Kenny is now the top guy for now, whatever else, and he's had it since, was that June? Not July, June, something like. He's had it
I think Dominion's in June.
Yeah, he's had it for a couple months now, and they're building up the challenger for him or whatever else, and obviously his contract is up at the beginning of January, but a big part of the reason why Madison Square Garden got that venue and why it sold out so quick is in part because Kenny Omega is in theory going to be there, right? We don't know if he's going to be there. Yeah. We know that the possibility the great possibility he's going to be there is in part one of the reasons why that show sold out and why All In is necessity sold out as well. So, I think a lot of it came up. And that's true. I think a lot of it came to we tried to have the greatest title run, the most legendary title run we could have with this guy. Unfortunately, he had to get that Braun Strowman treatment. We had to tell Naito he's gonna have to move around and go to the back of to be the number 3 or 4 guy of the company, as opposed to be number 1 guy. I think that's just the same thing. Where we got to clear just for now, but there's no doubt in my mind that eventually he'll get it back. Now, do I think we're going to be past the peak? That's a great possibility. It's like we were talking about the Strowman thing. Every time you cool someone's just off or you postpone it, you run the risk of passing that peak, and then people are going to lose interest because you just beat this person, and eventually people are going to get the whip. Eventually, most people are going to get the whiff of this person's a loser. I don't need to necessarily be that invested in whether or not this person wins or succeeds, because I don't want to have that feeling of, oh my God, this dude lost again.
Hiroshi Goto.
Yeah. but not the same level, because Goto ain't never been no damn Naito. But yeah.
No, sure, right, but the same premise, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw Wrestle Kingdom 12 and saw that Okada beat Naito, my initial thought was that they missed their shot to give Naito that big win. Mm-hmm. But then, as I listened to Jeremy and Josh from the Keeping It Strong Style podcast, they said there's a story to be told down the line and stuff of him, because as you said in the match, because for those of you who don't know, originally Naito referred himself as the Stardust Genius. He was a bit more flashy and all the stuff. Right. He goes away on an excursion to CMLL. He founds Los Ingobernables de Japan. He's just a cool dude. He's kind of like a show off, but
doesn't care.
He does not care. Full on Jay Cutler don't care.
Throwing titles on the ground, kicking them in the dirt, getting them all muddy and all that other stuff.
I see Bill look like shit. Yep.
And then some of these big matches, he will show parts of the Stardust Genius. He'll do some of the maneuvers that he was accompanied to as the Stardust Genius.
Yep.
He did some of these exact same moves at Wrestle Kingdom 12. So in my mind,
that's the
obvious goal is to completely rid himself of all the Stardust Genius, become centered in this Tranquilo character, and then at that point he's going to win the title. And then he wins the Intercontinental Championship. Okay, and I'm like, okay, that's a good thing for now. Then he loses to Chris Jericho.
He gets squashed. Call it what it is.
I was like,
well, he didn't get squashed, but he got his ass whooped. Because remember how bad his face looked?
It was a 20-minute squash, man. He got 4 moves in the whole match.
The only match I'm comfortable calling a long squash was what Lesnar did to Cena and I fucking hated that match with a passion. But as it was happening, not in retrospect, knowing that this means now all Brock does is this now. I thought that as soon as it happened, I was like, this is a bad precedent they're setting. I was right. I didn't know at the time I was going to be right. But like I was like, don't like I'm not here. Like if you're gonna squash them, really squash them. Don't do no 16 minutes shit where there's no actual comeback or whatever else and call this a match. Just beat his ass and be done with it. Like just like what they did with Lesnar and Goldberg.
Hey, could you imagine if John Cena got in the ring and punched Brock Lesnar twice and Brock Lesnar just F5'd him and that was it?
Do you remember? Better yet, think about that SummerSlam, right? And how people thought about how bold that move was, right? To have him go out there and slap Cena some skin and whoop his black ass for 16 minutes and 6 seconds, right? Remember what they did the very next month?
The exact same thing. We've seen it getting offense.
Cena whooped his ass and had him beat until Seth came out there with the briefcase and broke it.
The dude went back and forth between STF and attitude adjustments.
Yes.
Like looking like he was about to win.
I was just like, yo, if you're gonna do it, and that's one of the things I have with one of the issues I have with WWE is just like, if you're gonna do it to build somebody, fine. Stick with it. Like I hate 50-50 booking. That's one of the things that gives me so much issue with what they do in WWE. But
I think 50-50 booking has its place, but they go to the well too many times.
It serves one fundamental good. I completely sympathize and understand the good for it. It's that regardless of what happens, when we do 50-50 booking, nobody is a complete bum. So whenever contract situations happen or someone leaves, they are replaceable, and we can just move on to the next guy. And that's fine. However, it makes for less compelling and less dynamic storytelling.
I would say...
And also, it's harder to build a star that way. And granted, given what we've seen with WWE, or given what I've seen with WWE since I started back watching 2011, I'm not sure they actually really want another star. Like, they're okay with having another Johnson.
I think they just got $2 billion. They don't care about stars no more.
That's my point. Right? They're selling the brand. Like, they want to be the wrestling version of the NFL. They're gonna like put them in helmets.
They practically are at this point.
If they can put them in helmets, like aside from standing for the anthem, I know y'all finna get at, but like aside from putting, covering their faces or whatever else, like the only thing they want to do is sell that the circus is coming to town 2 times a year in your area. You get your tickets and you get your ass there and you sit down and you watch our wrestling we put on. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, or otherwise, we want you to show up and we want you to show up, sit down and watch whatever Vince pulled from out his draws. So I understand, and that's the reason why you get that's an explanation for the 50-50 booking. But our thing is like, I don't really care about your business model. Like I care, like you making your money, that's good. However, I think that given what you've built and given what I saw you do growing up, I feel that if they weren't so scared of having a Rock show up and then become a gigantic star and then leave off to become the biggest movie star in the world, if they weren't concerned about that kind of thing, I feel like they're leaving money on the table in the long term by never building any stars beyond or even to the John Cena level that used to be considered like not big enough, but now like they would, like how many people would Vince like run over with his car to have another John Cena? But that's where we are because of the 50-50 booking and partner. Like nobody's ever gonna be able to break through. Like guys get their shots and then like something, either the booking gets messed up because like it's really hard to book, or
they get hurt.
Vince or Vince has quote unquote plans like he wants to, Strowman, you were the hottest guy in the company for 10 months. Fuck off. It's time to do Brock. It's time to finally get Roman this match with Lesnar, and then okay. Then it's time for Lesnar. To take this L. Now, actually, we gonna split your head and beat you, but whatever else. Like I think that's the biggest part of why it's issue. But I understand it. But it also makes for less compelling television to watch week in, week out.
And we got real off subject with the New Japan.
Tremendously, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up and we'll get into Takeover and SummerSlam. So as I was saying, Naito losing to Jericho was kind of a issue for me.
Part-timers.
Right. So I'm assuming that at some point next year they're gonna try and get that big. He's gonna beat Hiroshi Tanahashi to go on to fight a Wrestle Kingdom. I think you can challenge or something like that, right? Like you can, like if you fight the G1 winner or something, you can take a spot or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's probably gonna be a Bushi or Naito or Okada that gets a challenge.
It don't need to be Okada, bro.
I agree. I don't think I don't think Okada should.
Okada is as Rance would say, like Okada is slowly creeping up on Roman Reigns territory.
He's been there. The only reason people haven't noticed it is because he's having 5, 6, 7-star matches. He's been there. People always want to compare Roman Reigns to Naito. No, Roman has been Okada from the very beginning, given too much too soon, dealt with it, and went on. But the only difference is, and of course, I know the crowd, sure, but the only difference is people don't pay attention to it because he's having great matches, and not like great matches, like 5, 6, 7 stars.
But the thing is this, it is different because one thing is this, right? Roman at one point was having great matches consistently, and then like it
not 6-star matches,
huh? Well, no, but it's WWE. You're not gonna be able to do stuff that dangerous to have that kind of match. Like you might be like
most
unless
you can aspire for at this rate in WWE is Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa or The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. That's the bar.
Yeah, but I mean, like the thing with WWE in that regard is like, or let me forget that part. But like as far as the Roman Reigns Omega thing. I'm sorry, Okada thing. I think most people could make the comparison between Naito and Roman is because, like, this guy was a guy that was supposed to be in the main event of WrestleMania. And then you look at what happened with both of them. Like, one got sent to a vote and then got sent to the semi-main event. And the other guy, regardless of whatever was going to happen, whether it was Daniel Bryan was actually back, whether or not Lesnar was going to leave and run out his contract to go back to UFC or not, or what have you, he was going to main event 31 regardless. And he did, and it was a great match. And then it went on from there, but like, it's kind of weird. It is weird to me that like they have not done a heel run with him. It really is. And like, you look at how when you do the comparison with Naito is a case summary of like when people compare The Rock to Roman, which is like, look, man, you have these similar examples of this guy was being pushed and groomed to be, or not groomed, I won't say that, but this guy was pushed to be, or was actually like looked at as a guy that had the potential to be the new top guy, and then was rejected by the fans. And you look at The Rock instance where they turned him and put him in the nation, became The Rock, became the most charismatic wrestler in the history of the fake sport. Mm-hmm. And then you look at you look at Naito and where his track has been since then, and you think, damn, bro, like Roman grew into being a really good solo act, especially in the ring. Just imagine if he was able to put the kind of heat that he had to some good use. Like, those boos would have turned to cheers by now. It would have.
But that's part of the problem.
What's part of the problem?
Because if he at the point, if he would have turned when fans wanted him to turn, I truly in my soul don't believe he would ever got booed.
Well, when do you think he should have turned?
I mean, you could name like 5 times.
Let's count it. All right, real quick. Let's count everyone since.
But that's the part of the frustration with the fan base is like, they've tried so many different things since they tried to build him like he was Cena. They tried the Daniel Bryan approach where they beat him mercifully, and the cards stacked against him. They've tried a bunch of things. They tried, that goes to the Daniel Bryan part. They've tried to have him lose big matches and fail at different times, so they got to be like, they do the redemption angle slash the internet fans claims of him being overpushed and all this stuff is also a lie. So they've tried all this stuff. It's never worked. But there's one thing that they haven't tried, and it probably was always their best bet at making it work, and they still haven't tried it yet. And at this point it's just stubbornness. And it's like, why? What would be the worst thing in the world? Let's say you turn him heel, he still gets booed. Then you just turn him back face, and then he's still being lukewarm or 50-50 reaction guy that he always was, because he's been pushed to the level to where like he already is a star. He's not a star maybe to the level that WWE probably would have wanted when they first thought of started this thing to begin with. But just do it. Like, what's going to happen? You're right back where you were a year from now.
I really think that WrestleMania 33 should have been it, and especially if the Undertaker had retired. That would have been the perfect moment to just, okay, heel Roman. He's a douche. Boo him.
Yeah, because remember the night after?
Oh my God. I rewatch that sometimes.
How do you not put that to use?
Well, it's the WrestleMania crowd. They cheer who they boo, and they boo who they cheer.
Well, okay, let me flip it for you. And this isn't quite to the same spectacle or the size, but so since Randy Orton has come back and he's been attacking Jeff Hardy, he's been doing, I think all of us who are diehards can admit, he's been doing really good heel work. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Remember when he beat up Jeff Hardy not last week and he wiped the face paint off his face and all that? Did you see the entire crowd cheering him and doing the Randy Orton pose? That's the crowd we're in. That the most vicious thing you can do. The only heel heat is Ciampa.
But that's also
the only heel.
I mean, there's Alexa and Carmella get good heat too, but like that, whatever. But I think
Alexa gets bigger pops than most of the faces. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
But the thing is, well, I mean, the reason why I say it is because she was able in front of WrestleMania card to actually get Nia Jax, which is like I thought they were gonna give Nia Jax the blues for being the hell out of that girl. But whatever. But the reason why the Orton thing I think the thing is Orton's bulletproof. Like Orton is a living legend. Like Orton is like, for example, like I remember there are a bunch of people, and I know you in particular have said this, where like people, when you talk about people complaints about or Roman being over pushed, and you guys bring up Seth as a counterfactual. It's like, look, Seth is Randy Orton. I'm not saying he is Randy Orton. I'm saying like he's the guy. He's the second guy that gets a lot of shine or whatever else. But he damn sure ain't no John Cena. And Roman, and that's the same thing. Is like, yeah, they're obviously it's a lot closer as far as their popularity between Cena and Seth and Roman. But clearly one guy's pushed as one and the one guy's pushed as two. And Orton has been pushed as two for years, right? And even with the ascension of CM Punk, even with the ascension of Daniel Bryan, like Daniel Bryan got over that summer in part because of the matches he had with Randy Orton. Those are great matches. And honestly, Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan on TV is one of my greatest like wrestling programs ever, right?
You mean the one that ended with the kendo stick tap out?
That, and also the match before where they had to close it because of his neck, because he had the nerve damage or whatever. I love those matches. Man,
reading that book and hearing how mad he was, that was hilarious.
Here's the thing, Orton. I'm like one of the very few Randy Orton guys that exists in the internet space. Like, but my thing is like when I came into watching wrestling, like the first time I ever laid eyes on Randy Orton was WrestleMania 25. I saw that video package, and that's the thing about WWE's video package, like their stuff, like they're so
greatest
good.
On earth.
Like after watching Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, that's the first match I had seen of wrestling in 9 years, right? And then I go and I see Triple H, like, wow, Triple H still in main event? Of course he is. This fucking guy. So I see this Randy Orton dude, and I understand Triple H is the good guy, and I'm thinking like, how much of a prick does he have to be the good guy against right? Triple H to be good. How much of a prick does Randy Orton dude has to be? And then they show like the sledgehammer stuff, kissing Stephanie, laying out Shane, laying out Vince. I'm like, and then you see that dude. And you're like, yo, this dude's built like a Greek god. Then you see him in the ring, you're like, yo, this dude is silky smooth. I understand why this dude's in the main event, even over Undertaker and Shawn. So I'm like, this dude has to be hella talented. And then, I watch WrestleMania 26, and then I get back into WrestleMania or get back into WWE full time, like in that summer of 2011, like right after like the Money in the Bank thing happened. So like that's right when he gets moved right to SmackDown, and he's having that feud with Christian, and I'm like,
the best in SmackDown history,
right? So, but those are my first impressions of this dude. Is like that plus like his greatest of DVD that just came out in 2011 was like the Natural Foley's on there, and I'm like, yo, this nigga Randy Orton is the truth,
bro. So, it just hit me when you said that you missed 2010 with him and John Cena every month,
over and over and over and over and
over and over. The matches I did see of Cena and Orton was like the Hell in a Cell match, which was the first one, which was good. The second one was also good, and then like the I Quit match, and I Quit match is great,
really good. Yes.
So
real quick side note was 2009 where it was John Cena and Randy Orton versus the entire roster.
From what I hear,
on Raw? Yeah.
From what I hear, yeah. From what I hear. So like, I get why they, why or now, given like all this history, he's a living legend. He's still somehow not even 40 yet. And he's done all this stuff. 13 championships, main event WrestleMania multiple times. I understand why, like, obviously he always worked better as a heel than as a babyface. Mm-hmm. Except for like when he was chasing down Seth Rollins, that's about the only time he really went connected all the way as a babyface. But I get why, like, he goes out there and lays a massive beam down on Jeff Hardy, and then the crowd goes nuts because, like, that dude has been made for so long that it's like anything he does is going to get cheered because that's kind of what he's been. Like, even when he was a heel fighting Daniel Bryan at the beginning, he was still sort of getting cheered until the authority thing fully popped off. Like, I kind of get it. I kind of get it.
That's fair, but I'm gonna give it back to Simon. I just want to say this. That's fair and that's true, but I think that the crowd doesn't cheer bad or good based on what they do anymore. They cheer bad or good based on who they like.
Oh, right? You know what? You're right. You know what else? You know what else they also do?
What's that?
They cheer or boo based on if they get something dynamic.
Yes.
So regardless of whoever, so let's say let's say if Baron Corbin did not lose his Money in the Bank. Let's say he didn't lose it to Jinder and he actually did cash in at SummerSlam. The crowd would pop for that. Not because Baron Corbin's good, because Baron Corbin, this is a year removed from that, and he's not not one iota better from than he was a year ago, putting people in certain wrestles and matches and draining the life out of you. He's still just that mediocre. But because something dynamic happened, they cheer. Heel turns, people cheer. Like, even if you double cross somebody, people cheer. They just want to see something memorable and dynamic while they're there. Right. And that's a part of the part where, like, you look at the WWE right now as a company, and you see that this company that was built on the backs of Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, where you had all these great Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Bret Hart, all these great baby faces for decades. This whole company's built on baby faces.
Macho Man,
and then
Warrior,
right. Mm-hmm. Off the strength of great baby face with great baby face runs. And you look at this company now, and you look at, like, since Daniel Bryan's vacated that belt, like the top or the WWE Championship because of the neck, since 2014, like, the run of WWE champions and also the undercard titles have been overrun by heels. Like, they can't make any good baby faces unless they're part timers like Goldberg, or it's like Shane, or it's Daniel Bryan just coming back.
They were made before WWE, like AJ.
Kind of, yeah. But the thing was, like, he was a good babyface starting out. Then he had a great then AJ had a great heel run that was based off the strength of him having great matches, and he really wasn't he wasn't necessarily a chicken shit. Like, he was what
Brock Lesnar was in, like, 2002, where he had the skill and he can do all of it. He just was like, yeah, I could beat you with skill, but I'm gonna kick you in the nuts real quick.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like it was a respect. Like, same thing with Owens. Like, Owens at the beginning. Owens now is because he's scared of Strowman. I don't think that's exactly fair because he's only scared of Strowman. But, like, if it was anybody else, he would eventually cheat or kick. He would cheat somehow, some way, or whatever else, do his nasty thing. But people recognize real, and people realize that Kevin Owens is good as hell. So they will go along and they will boo him and stuff like that because he's doing dastardly things. But if they ever give Kevin Owens a babyface run, it's going to be huge. If they don't overdo certain things or whatever. But, like, if he gets a babyface run, people are going to love him because he's been a guy that people have respected for a long time. And I forgot what I was even talking about before I even got to the.
But okay, so with all that being said, and everything you said, I'm gonna leave you with this.
Yeah.
You still think the crowd's gonna boo Roman Reigns as they turn him heel?
Going forward or at the moment of the turn?
Okay, so you look at the Raw side right now. Me and Rich were talking about this last week. Given that the best heel, the male singles division, right? The best heel is on the full-time basis. The best heel is Kevin Owens. Start thinking of the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 heels in the male single division. It's very weak right now. Sure. Very weak. So, and also you throw in the fact that Randy, or you throw in the fact that Roman, let's say he is a champion. We can't roll it out for sure that he won't be the champion because you saw what the fuck they did at WrestleMania. But let's say he is a champion. Wouldn't it be better to have a new champion? He's the everyday guy in the company, to have him go out there and have killer matches with Seth, Dean, Finn, as opposed to go out there and go and have these matches that are going to be prone to being these matches with these green guys that aren't up to standard to be in a match with Roman Reigns, and yet other than Kevin Owens, and try to just fake it through. So my point is, coming out of WrestleMania, whether it's Braun Strowman turning heel or whatever else by aligning with Heyman or whatever else, or it's Roman turning heel somehow, some way, or it's Dean Ambrose turning heel somehow, some way, or it's Finn Balor turning heel somehow, some way. One of these strong faces that, because they have five strong male singles faces right now. One of these dudes is gonna have to turn heel to make this thing work out. Somehow, some way. Like, you can't just have Jinder and Roman and Elias. Can't do that. Just can't.
I agree 100%.
I'm betting on Ambrose for that heel turn.
I would love to see Ambrose.
Yeah.
Bro, and it's perfect because of everything. But if he turns heel, it has to be on Seth Rollins. I heard a brief conversation about what are the odds that he turns on Roman or something. It's like, what did Roman do? Seth was the one who basically left him open and let Samoa Joe injure him and all that stuff.
Well, you could tell the basic story of, it's kind of meta, but you could be like, look, man, we started the Shield. I was the front man on the mic for the longest, and I was helping carry these dudes with the mic. They were great athletes in the ring, but I knew that that I was with these guys because they were tough SOBs or whatever else. Then you flash forward to Seth turning on the Shield. Then you turn to all the struggles. You turn to some of the struggles Roman has had with the crowd, and I was always there for these dudes, but I ain't get a mumbling phone call when I was rehabbing, fighting, trying to help them, and when they were on their last legs, after they came to Jesus or whatever else, I was always there to lend a hand for them. And then you showed him, going to bat and fighting the Wyatt family on Roman's behalf. You show him, helping the bar, the authority, all that, and just say, these dudes would never hear from me the way I wanted to, and you know what? Screw them. That's a real easy thing to do. Do a long story thing on Dean Ambrose.
It is, but the problem is Brock Lesnar's involved. So it's like, okay, you betraying this dude who he didn't call you during your rehab, but Brock Lesnar damn near ruins you at WrestleMania 32.
I was talking about it just today.
Yeah.
You is the thing, right? If he loses the belt or whatever else, or actually I don't know, but
it would have to be with a cash in for it to work.
Yeah.
It couldn't just be with Roman would have to beat Brock Lesnar, and then Ambrose and Seth Rollins come out to celebrate, and then Dean Ambrose is hiding a crowbar or something crazy, and out comes Kevin Owens or something. But moving on, so this weekend we have SummerSlam and NXT Takeover coming up. SummerSlam looks to be a long show, whereas NXT Takeover looks like it's pretty short. As of now, there's only 5 matches announced. Is there anything else? Anybody know any rumors of anything else being added?
I'm sure they're gonna have dark matches like they do for every Brooklyn.
Right, okay. but they did. But I do believe, I could be wrong, but I think they added some time to the show.
Could be. I don't know what they will put on, but with the Dream and EC3 match, the North American title match, the tag title match, the women's title match, and the main title match. That's typically NXT does a 2.5 hour 5-show match. Maybe they decide to extend it longer. Because this is a pretty stacked card, even by normal NXT standards. But I'm sure they could add something. Because obviously we know that Keith Lee just had his debut match last week. They might throw him out there to shine for a little bit on the main card, for all we know.
Yeah. So like I said, the show is very short, so I don't even think going through the entire show is really worth it. So I'd rather just get to what do you think is going to be match of the night. And in my opinion, it's either between Adam Cole and Ricochet or the Undisputed Era and Mustache Mountain. Because I feel like NXT missed an opportunity with Ciampa and Gargano because the last man standing match is cool, but I feel like if they really wanted to get what people wanted, they should have had a Hell in a Cell match because that would have been the finish. That would have been the zenith.
Sure, but you have to understand the situation. It was never meant to be a singles match.
Yeah, I understand
the matches got changed 2 weeks ago.
I understand that, but it's like when you learn about how they got all this stuff shucked in a warehouse somewhere, and how they can just transport it. Like,
that's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is the build. You can't just pop up and say, "Oh, by the way, Hell in a Cell." Like that's something you need to lead to and have advertised for a couple of weeks.
Look, there is a precedent where they did in 99 did Kane versus Mankind on a Raw.
Yeah, but that's the only one that's ever happened, and that's
but I'm just saying, like,
we won't even count.
Right, I'm just saying the precedent is there for them to just do that. But like, would you really want that? Just in 1 week notice, be like, oh yeah, Hell in a Cell, run it. Will you really want that?
I think they got enough heat to do it. In my opinion,
I think. Look, who's to say that it can? Who's to say that it's only going 3 matches?
Man,
that was my next point because they're going back to Brooklyn for WrestleMania.
But for Survivor Series, they got War Games is coming back. So, do they put a cage on one? Like, how would that work?
What you do is like you do your. Are we sure they're actually going to do War Games again for Survivor Series?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure it was confirmed.
Okay. Well, if they do that, that's fine. But you still have the opportunity to do the final because Aleister Black will be back by that point in time. Like, you can still do your 3-way, or you can do Gargano or Dude versus Aleister because Aleister is owed his rematch because he's hurt.
Call him by his name, James.
Who?
He's not Dude. He's Ciampa. Call him by his name.
I don't say his name. I don't do that. Nah, bro.
He who must not be named.
I hate that man's guts.
For the record, I think the best match tonight is going to be Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era. And I say that because quietly, the Undisputed Era as a tag team has had the best match on each card damn near. Or at least most underrated for like 2 straight tables.
Especially that last show.
They, against Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, 1-2.
Yeah.
I did not expect them to outshine Gargano and Ciampa again.
Well, they didn't outshine them to me.
They didn't outshine them, but like it was
in my opinion, when it's that close,
mm-hmm.
I give it to the guy who you didn't expect.
Yeah, the thing is, like, okay, so I had never seen Lorcan. That's not because I didn't start watching NXT full like consistently until I actually just came back and watched Wrestling 3 weeks ago. So I had no idea. I had heard about Lurkin. I had heard about him being on the Largo C, basically like this the B team pay-per-view touring NXT thing. Yeah. So I had no idea he was that kind of good until I started a match. I was like, yo, this dude, like, I'm not saying that this is gonna happen because like, but the last time I saw a dude like go on a tear like that doing a pay-per-view match, and my first time seeing him being like came away impressed with like, yo, this dude might have something, was in fact Gargano. When during them first DIY match, I was like, yo, who is this guy? Like, so I'm not saying that dude's gonna become this like Janet baby face, but like he definitely seems like he has in NXT especially like has a potential to, he has his foot in the door now. Like he got hurt, but like comes back. People are gonna remember what he did in that match, and I'm sure he's gonna be back out there in that tag team. And I mean, tag team wrestling in NXT is always has their foot forward in it. So like, I don't think he's gonna have to worry about his spot being taken when he comes back, especially in the tag division.
All right, and did you say that was your official pick?
Yeah, that's mine. Yeah,
it's either that or NXT Championship match. I mean, I don't think Cole and Ricochet have it like that. I've seen Kyrie and Baze before, and their match was great, but like,
it was okay.
What?
It was.
No,
it was good, but
don't be the Russian judge, Simon. Don't do that.
No, he's not. I wasn't a big fan of it either.
Oh my god.
Maybe it was because of the presentation and how it was just shucked out after SmackDown, but I didn't really care for how they did that. The match itself was okay, but it's like,
okay. So
Shane has gotten better since then anyway. So
yes, but okay. So I'm gonna ask you this: how many great matches were in the Mae Young Classic last year?
What do you great?
Great, yes.
I don't know if there was any great one. There was a bunch of good ones.
Oh my God! All right, so I know the crowd we talking about here. We can move on. Y'all don't expose.
Thank you for that ringy endorsement.
It's like that, huh?
Like every Kairi Sane match in that tournament was great. Tony Storm had 3 great matches in that tournament. Let's see, the Baszler LeRae match was great. Like there was another the opening. No, sorry, Abby Lake versus Piper Niven was also great.
Well, let's say this, James. You have to understand too. We haven't seen those matches in like over a year. So maybe if we go back and remember them, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was great. But off the top of my head, I couldn't remember any of the matches you named until just now.
Okay. Well,
I remember the Baszler one. I remember most of hers.
Baszler and Candice was great now that I'm remembering it. But my God, I just
Okay. All right. Well, you know how Simon is. Simon tends to skew towards negativity. So I was like, yo. So I was
nervous.
You see my Twitter handle, man.
Yeah. So then when you, Rance, who tends to be the more positive in the fan base, comes out and was like, oh, yeah, I don't remember anything great. So I'm like, yo, are y'all really finna do this? Are y'all really finna do this? Like this is like, oh, okay.
Let me go back and watch some, or at least remember the matches, and then we can talk.
Okay.
All right. And to finish things up, we got SummerSlam, which features as of now 13 matches.
Yikes!
Is that the number from WrestleMania?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, man.
But I will say this: at least none of these matches are like battle royals that are just like nothing matches.
True.
They're all singles matches except for the SmackDown
tag match.
You know what I mean. I'm talking about
my bad.
Yeah, one act versus one act.
And luckily, there's only one match that is an exact rematch from WrestleMania. There's some matches that have parallels, and I'll get to that in a second, but there's only one exact rematch. So on the pre-show, we have Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak. I don't think anybody's really got any stock into this. I've watched NXT a few times. I've seen what Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali have done in various matches. But I just don't see it. What'd you say?
I'm just ready to see Cedric lose. It's time.
I don't think, not to Gulak, I don't think. But I feel like they need to run it with Mustafa again for him to lose.
They've had every chance, and they don't want to do it. So
I don't know why, but
guys, when did 205 Live start? Was that 2016 or 17?
It started after Night of Champions.
Brett, yeah, something like
that.
Night
of Champions 2016?
Or Clash of Champions or something like that, yeah.
Okay, Rance, so is 205 Live still on pace to in 6 years be out here selling out stadium arenas like NXT is?
They didn't sell out the arenas they were in when they had that little house show tour.
No. He's saying that because I've said that 205 Live is gonna have the way they're building it. The hope is to have the same trajectory that NXT did, and NXT had to get built before it started selling out stadiums.
True.
I don't know the answer to that, but here's part of the problem with 205 Live. They're not essentially building stars as much as they are taking leftover stars and making them work. NXT actually built stars.
Pretty much.
So
I would say that you can't build stars on that thing because you don't have the television reach, and also they're off television. Like if you were actually I don't think they're actually really trying to build stars as much as they're just like, yeah, this way we'll put these guys because they might actually do something somewhere else, and we only want this shit to get to a certain level outside. Vince,
if they ever decide.
If it was up to Vince would buy all of the indies and keep buying all of the indies over and over and over and over, but he can't because it would be reckless and he has too much talent as it is.
If they ever decide to pull the plug on 205 Live, I want Cedric. That's a whole nother issue.
You want to call on something, but you can't on air because that will kind of be reckless.
Don't do it.
Comment.
Don't do it.
Mustafa Ali. You got Mustafa Ali. I would want back. Grand Metalik. Where is this man?
Yeah.
This dude has
been there.
Huh?
He's on every week.
Where is he as far as the title picture? This man is just having tag team matches
Well, okay. Well, to be
the
fair,
WWE stereotype. Hey, these guys are all of similar ilk.
the Lucha House part, yeah, that's trash.
Lucha House part, man. But he had the best. He had the opening match for the Cruiserweight Classic. It was one of the best things I've seen a luchador done in WWE, and I don't know how long.
But they're convinced Kalisto is the guy. Like,
but he's not doing anything either.
No, but he's the only guy to get consistent singles matches.
Oh my god, I don't get it.
Of those three. So
man, that's a whole nother. We gonna do a man. They got one more time to mess up a luchador, and we gonna do a special on luchadors in WWE. Yeah. Next on the pre-show, Rusev and Lana versus Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega.
That's for sure on the pre-show.
Yes.
That's what it says on Wikipedia.
Okay.
I don't know why this isn't just a singles match.
You know why it's just a single. You know why it's not just a singles match. You know why? You want me to explain? You want me to tell you why?
Briefly, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. So in one part, like they kind of have this pay-per-view that comes in October that they need to push as many women as possible to try to get this thing to work. Right. That's one fold. And then two is it's sports entertainment. So you got to give. So it's a variety show. It's not a wrestling show. You have to try to give some variety. I don't necessarily agree with that thought, but that's how Vince has worked this thing for the last roughly 40 years. So you don't give them the match everybody wants to see. You give them you cut it with baby's formula.
But there's a third.
What's the third?
The only reason they're feuding from a story standpoint, because
Aiden English
is not just Aiden, but because of the women. Zelina and Lana had a problem with each other, which is why they started feuding in the first place.
Okay, I wasn't watching then.
So I had to check real quick, and I thought initially that they did the same thing in 2015 with Dolph Ziggler and Rusev, but as it turns out, they were just managers at that time.
Yes,
it's funny.
Lana wasn't wrestling
is cyclical, ladies and gentlemen.
And also that was a love square.
Yes, love square. My God.
Well, it wasn't a triangle. I mean,
you're right. You're absolutely right.
Do y'all remember when Rusev threw that fish at Lana's feet? Do y'all remember that?
Yes, dead fish, Lana.
it's a fish. And then the last match on the pre-show, the B Team versus the Revival. Who cares?
Title change.
Who gives a flying fuck?
I mean,
y'all been wanting the Revival to get the belts. This is when they're gonna get it. So,
who to get the belt? The Revival?
No.
It had to be at the worst possible time when the tag team division is completely dead.
Here's the thing, right? People have certain things that they say they want, but they also have under these certain conditions. Like, yes, like for example, requirements. No, but it's like, but I don't think these are unfair conditions. It's like, look, it's a wrestling show. People are tuning in to watch wrestling. They want good wrestling, storylines that aren't convoluted and screws with you as far as like you having to think about them for too long, right? That just falter under like any type of I guess like they just fall apart under any type of scrutiny, right? Like if you just give that, like I mean, I'm not saying that the show needs to be NXT. I enjoy some of the Vince sports entertainment goofiness and wackiness. I just think they do too much of it at times, and I think they screw up or they screw with you because like they're trying to get heat because of God knows why. Well, I know why. It's part because they can't make any good baby faces, but but going back to the Revival thing is just they had really good programs and really good matches on NXT. Granted, I think we'd all agree that we all knew that the second that Vince saw those guys, he wasn't gonna think they could do shit, right? They're short. They got bad bodies, right? So you see what they've done and also they got hurt, so that's also another strike against them.
That's a huge strike because they got hurt at very inopportune times. Separately.
Which is funny when you consider Samoa Joe, but keep going.
Or Roman Reigns. But that's the thing, though.
But they debuted, man. These guys, the guys you're talking about were at the top when they got hurt. These guys debuted 3 months, they hurt. That's different.
Here's the thing. Even if you're at top, that still don't mean anything. Because look at, you got into it on one of the Warm Nation radios about this. Look at Finn Balor. He was an inaugural champion, gets his shoulder popped out the socket in the match of the belt, loses the belt, comes back, and look what he's done the whole year and change has been back. He's been shitted on. So, but about the Revival thing, like, they want them to be the Chad champions, yes, but they also expected them to. They also expected in that run that they were going to get a bunch of good matches and programs with some good teams on the way. They ain't get none of that. Like, they've been getting their asses kicked left and right in the shit division, and now they're about to possibly win the title. It's like, yo, whoever is the next like major tag team to come along into the Raw division is going to beat the guy like unsufferably. Like, I looking back at it, what this is now and what we have on SmackDown with the Bludgeon Brothers just walloping everybody at WrestleMania. They should have done that with AOP with this Raw division. They should have held them off, had them kill people, set them to SummerSlam, and had them smash B Team or the Wyatt in Hardy thing or the Revival and ran with that and just had them do that. But you know, that's not what they decided to do.
It is what it is, man. So moving along to the singles matches on the show before we get into anything with a title or a briefcase involved, we got another match that I'm just really not here for. Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. This was added to fill time. Next.
Rance, what do you think of this thing?
The feud?
Yeah,
what feud. It's big. He's Big Cass.
It's okay. It's technically a feud because they've been going at each other for months.
Isn't this their second pay-per-view match?
Third.
Yikes. Okay.
It's the third, yeah. Right?
I know they wrestled at the pay-per-view before Extreme Rules. I know they wrestled on TV 3 weeks ago.
It's the second.
And then they're wrestling at SummerSlam. Like,
it's the second.
This match, I thought they weren't even going to have a match. Like, I remember asking Rich a week ago, like, is Balor just not going to be on SummerSlam? And we both looked at each other and like, yeah, probably not. And then they decided, yep, 13th match or 12th match, go.
Man, you know what's funny though? It was kind of the same thing last year with Finn. Remember him and Bray? It was like last minute, is he gonna miss? And then last minute they went on and did the Demon.
We don't talk about.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? You know what's so funny is
what's up?
Like, I thought that when your boy caught the mumps or whatever the hell that was and missed that pay-per-view, and they brought in AJ Styles, and then like they had that great match that they had got back on the right track with Finn, and the rumor was they were going to do Finn, the champion never lost, versus Brock at Royal Rumble, and you thought, okay, that's a great, like, overnight because of the Shield breaking down or whatever, the Shield getting hurt and Wyatt being out, you're like, yo, this saved Wyatt's career because they were about to do the him dressing up in drag versus the pumpkin face. You thought this saved their careers on accident. Like,
and Finn was going to be the great pumpkin.
Right. But we all thought, like, yo, this kind of saved their career. Like, this turned out great. Like, he gets to be AJ, a guy that's, you know, he was a month away from becoming champion. We didn't know at the time, but, like, AJ was still having great matches every single pay-per-view at that time. You're like, yo, this is great. And then Kane the very next night, and then they just kept beating his ass for Kane, and then like this whole ever since then has been like what did he do to y'all? Like, did he have sex with somebody y'all love? What's going on?
So let me say this: last time me and you talked about Finn on One Nation Radio, I was adamant that it was just a timing thing. Since then, they have dropped the ball massively with Finn. And I feel like they're content with just letting him sit in the spot in the mid card spot he's in, because he sells merch and that's good enough. You know, he sells merch, people like him, he gets a good pop. I feel like they're content keeping him there. I don't know why, but they have dropped the ball because the dude should have been back in the main event by now.
I'm gonna make.
And if he wasn't gonna beat Seth for the Intercontinental title, they should have done something with him substantially.
Here's my take on some Finn Balor. I was completely against him winning the Universal Championship because I just felt that that's a lot to give somebody on the main roster in a month. He injures himself, he finishes the match, he wins the title, he retires it. I'm thinking, okay, cool, they got a real good opportunity. Now they can put him to SmackDown, and then if he does lose, the story can be he just caught a hot streak Monday Night Raw is a lucky break. Things work differently over here. It is like you can argue the competition's better. All the other stuff about Raw versus SmackDown that they like to pretend is serious now. Like there was a storyline potential for that. Instead, they bring him back to Raw. He doesn't get any real title. He gets title opportunities. He doesn't do anything substantial. He doesn't win a single one. His highlight is defeating AJ Styles in a match that was rushed and had no time. And then he just does nothing ever since. So that's all I really got to say about him. Moving on, the next match on the card, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. And
y'all saw SmackDown tonight?
Just getting to that. Something's good.
I missed it, by the way.
Yo, you have to
it's
see
recorded.
this.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. You know something's good when I got to give praise. And WWE with these video packages hyping up Daniel Bryan versus The Miz has been truly awesome. Like I didn't really think much of it at the time because in my mind, Daniel Bryan, we don't even know if Daniel Bryan's going to resign. So right, but with that WWE 2K19, it's pretty much all but confirmed that it will be a major shock. I don't even fathom a situation where he leaves. They'd have to do something real terrible, and I don't think they're in any position to do that right now. So yeah, this match, like if you had said 2018, if you had said 2 years ago before the Miz's feud with Dolph Ziggler, I would have said this would have been an okay match at best. When you look at some of the matches he's had with Dolph Ziggler, with Dean Ambrose, with Seth Rollins, this might be a show stealer. Right, with Roman on Raw 25, this could be a show stealer. And
it was gonna be a show stealer anyway. I mean, you know me, I'm not the guy that cares about the actual in-ring stuff that much, but just the palpable hate they have between each other.
Man, that's what's great about it. It's got a great backstory, and it's got and Bryan is Daniel Bryan, and The Miz has improved greatly in the last 2 years. So I'm looking forward to this as far as picking a winner. Like if I didn't know about Daniel Bryan possibly resigning, I'd say it would be The Miz or something, but I'm fairly certain that Daniel Bryan is walking away with a victory and that he's going to move on to something. Well, they could extend. There's a chance they could send this to SummerSlam or something. Not SummerSlam, the Survivor Series or whatever next pay-per-views. They could run it at Hell in a Cell because all these pay-per-views are joint now. But I just have a feeling that Daniel Bryan's going to win this first one.
I think Miz is going to win for two reasons. Number one, they already brought up the fact that Bryan's contract is coming up, so I think the way WWE books, they're gonna want to have the ambiguity there with making people wonder, well, Miz won, is Bryan gonna leave? And number two, if the only way the feud can extend or have future legs is if Miz wins the first one, because if Bryan wins, then Bryan got what he wanted. Bryan got his comeuppance. All these years he finally got over on Miz. In a big match, bing, bang, boom, it's over. If Miz wins, there's a reason for them to go back to them. Not next month, hell, maybe WrestleMania, but there's reason now because Miz can gloat forever. I beat you. I gave you the match. I beat you. I'm better than you. So that's why I think Miz is winning.
Yeah, if Miz don't win this match, he has nothing to gloat about. And Miz, without being able to gloat about something, is pretty much Miz before 2016, where he's just like, he's a great talker, but nobody gives a shit. So like, unless he has a belt to throw into your face, even though he's just an average wrestler and still shove that down in your face, and unless he can hold over the fact that he beat the Miz, like he ain't got nothing. He really has nothing else for him to go to, especially right now that like they took him out of Raw and they moved him on to SmackDown, and like, I mean, where is he really gonna do? Like right now, like if I were them, I would try to push him towards going towards the main event area. Like they haven't wanted to do that over the last 2 years, even though his work has warranted that. But I think he needs to win. And also, you throw in the fact that like we don't know if Dan Bryan's signing for sure.
Yes, we do.
So he may as well beat him on the way out. Yeah, but CM Punk had shit on 2K when he left too, so that don't mean
that was different because when CM Punk left, the game was like still in development and all that stuff. They weren't even close to a release.
And right, and real quick, and Bryan isn't disgruntled with WWE. Punk had issues. Not to mention that Bryan's wife still works there. Total Divas, Total Bellas. They got renewed. Bryan can't be on the show if he's not going to be in the company no more. So there's a whole lot riding more than just Bryan wrestling on Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's true. I think he's gonna be resigned, but like I'm gonna be shocked if he left.
It would be the most shocking thing that's happened since he came back.
Especially if you're Daniel Bryan, and
with all the opponents he got are here now for the most part. There's new ones popping up, but like Shinsuke Nakamura, that's still a big match, and I think they can do, especially at WrestleMania.
But Nakamura might be gone to come January too. Yeah. We don't know.
Survivor Series. Then
but my thing is, granted, we're all talk. All I'm saying is, there's no reason to be surprised if somebody leaves WWE right now, knowing how good it is outside, and also how many less days you have to work.
Yeah, but you're looking at it from one spectrum. You're not looking at it from the full spectrum. If
the full spectrum is, the full spectrum.
If he was a single dude, like living by himself, I would say, yeah, he probably
absolutely,
gone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying that is because he wouldn't leave because of the stuff that might mess up with the Bella situation, right?
I'm saying he would.
So why did Nikki leave John? Wouldn't that fuck up her situation with the company too?
No one cares about her anymore.
Well, that's not true. But
no,
that's not true.
They don't care as much. Like she's not even on TV anymore. She's mostly in.
But she's on the reality television, which y'all are trying to convince me is such a gigantic deal.
I'm saying that's a piece of it. I'm not arguing that that's the entire reason.
All I'm saying is this: you're a family man. You don't have to be on the road for 3 to 4 shows a single week and be at home for maybe 1 or 2 days out the week. If you went his route, and if you are as popular as you are Daniel Bryan ain't no Cody Rhodes. He's a way bigger name than all these other guys that have ever had opportunity to come out and be
the Cody slander.
No, but I don't want to say it like that because I love Cody. I love Cody. Like, yeah. but my point is like, oh yeah, I love Cody. Like, yeah. I'm talking about Cody. Like, honestly,
I get what you're saying.
Before in 2011, like I kind of figured out like WWE just does what they want. They don't actually like build people or build people in the way that they used to in the past.
Oh, I remember what you told me.
I thought that like 2011, I thought that was eventually like because they were doing the mid card title guys, Intercontinental Champions. I thought like Brett, Shawn, all these guys, Razor Ramon, all these guys, you go through the Intercontinental title, you're a workhorse, and then like eventually you show that what your worth is to WWE, even though you're a smaller guy, and eventually you get your shine, eventually, whatever else, right? Just like it was in the 90s. So I thought Dolph Ziggler, given the crazy how well he worked on TV matches at that time, and also Cody because of the bloodline, the fact he had the push with Legacy and all that kind of stuff, that eventually WrestleMania and WrestleMania 30 or whatever else years from now, like they were going to get him a spot where like that might be a title match years from now. I was hella wrong,
and then they turned him into a B-list supervillain.
Right, but Cody has proved that like he was a legitimate star, actually had that kind of potential in him. It wasn't going to work in WWE.
2013
or at least at this point in time until he had proved that he could be a star on his own right. We'll see what happens in the future when he comes back.
Yeah, because if anybody's likely to re-sign with WWE, I feel like it's him. It might not be in 2019, but it's definitely sometime soon. And as far as him having a star-making moment, the 2013 Money in the Bank, that's all I got to say.
Oh my God. Am I the only one that was shocked that like he didn't get a shot at the contract and like a match with a stipulation with Sandow? I'm not the only one that was surprised he didn't get that.
No, I think we all expected that.
I thought they were going to. Well, I thought they were going to do the same thing with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. The match is great either way, but it was like, that would have been a little nice, something extra.
Instead, they had the greatest lumberjack match of all time.
I don't even know how.
Dude, you should. I gotta go back and listen to some of the One Nation Radio because you're probably like, yo, what the fuck are they doing with Seth and Dean right now? Like, do they not realize that like how hot this angle is, and they went out here and doing this stupid like the pay-per-view before they basically have a call off on the match because Ambrose and jumped down on this man and he just got in the car and left, and then they're gonna do a lumberjack match. Little I know they're gonna tear the house down with a lumberjack match of all things. Go figure.
All right, and for the last match that isn't necessarily for a title, but still has big implications, we have Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. And if Braun Strowman gets disqualified, then he loses the contract. No, I don't really see that happening. So, but there is still a chance that Kevin Owens could win the briefcase. Who do you see walking away? Because in my mind, I'm gonna tell you my pick. Just Braun Strowman's gonna win. This is just another pit stop on his road to whatever they've got him doing. Because I don't want to say the title for sure.
So I think Braun's going to win, but I would like to see Kevin win for only one reason. It would be different, because it's so expected that Braun's not only gonna win Sunday, but he's gonna eventually, if not cash in at SummerSlam, win the title with the belt and the monotony of the Money in the Bank contract and all this, that, and the other. If Kevin wins, especially if he wins like Christian did by getting this dude disqualified, it throws a wrench in so many different plans and makes things so different. And I like different. It's not gonna happen, but it would be nice to see something different happen.
Okay, so for me, I guess I had to make a ranking, so of the top four or four scenarios that I see and ones that I would like the most and which ones I would dread the most.
Okay.
One would be if five actually. Roman wins. Roman turns heel. That's top of the card. That's top, right? Roman wins, and he's still Roman. That'd be number two. Because at least, we got him through it. He's finally the champion. You built this guy for 4 fucking years.
We can press play now on the
Yes,
company.
you finally press play after being holed up on this shit for so many years, right? You finally just go on, right? And it's so amazing that WrestleMania 31, they decided to pull the trigger on Seth because they're afraid of blowback. Meanwhile, the blowback's been here for 4 fucking years. They still pushing Roman. Whatever. So, 3 would be if Owens won. No, I'm sorry. 3 would be if Strowman won and then cashed in on whoever. Whoever won the match. Whatever else. And then, go from there. And Strowman, guy that is hot enough to be the champion. And you get him at the right time of the year where it's not WrestleMania season. So, and you don't have to worry about how limited he is when most eyes are on the product. And you can move the fuck on from it after he's a champion. It's the same scenario as last year when people thought that he should have been a champion after going into No Mercy, because you get it out the way, and if you still want to coordinate Roman Reigns at a WrestleMania, you can have him lose the belt or whatever else to somebody else by Royal Rumble, and you still had a significant run. You can't say he got shortchanged. The next scenario after that would be if Kevin Owens won, and then he's a chicken shit heel Universal Champion again. Hopefully they do a better job than making him just a bit of a comedy coward, like when he was doing the Jericho thing. If he had him with him, that would help as well. But the very worst fucking scenario they could do is if they have Brock Lesnar beat this fucking man again and then leave without getting cashed in on. He just goes to UFC with the belt and goes and does whatever else, and he comes back. I don't want to see that shit again. My problem isn't with necessarily Brock or whatever else is that they've been putting this company and this brand or whatever brand that Roman's been on hold for 4 fucking years because they haven't given this dude the title. Stop this bullshit, get it over with, get it done, and let this dude have kick-ass wrestling matches again and just move on or whatever else. And you can still bring Brock back as an attraction, whatever else, but keep him the fuck away from the title because it makes the whole entire brand feel like it's just stuck in mud.
Well, you realize you never answered. So wait, I forget which ones you ranked. So who did you want to win out of Strowman and Owens?
He'll Roman with the help of Heyman. That's number one scenario for me.
But who you think's gonna win Braun and
Kevin? Oh shit! I mean, you can't. Can you really tell? Look, so go to WrestleMania. I'd have been like, ain't no chance in hell Brock's winning the championship until I can't call it. The only thing
we ain't talking to cash in. We just want to know who you think.
Just Braun versus Kevin.
I'm going to pull that sting. The only thing for certain is that nothing's certain.
Oh, okay.
Man, this dude over here giving us the nod.
Yeah.
I guess we ain't got to talk about Roman and Brock.
All right, fine then. We're still gonna
come back to it.
Roman's gonna find it. I'm predicting it. Roman's gonna win. He's gonna turn heel. How about that? I'll put it on there.
You still not answering the question.
What do you want from me, man?
Who is going to win the match?
What do you want from me?
Who's going to win this match?
All right,
Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens. Move on.
Okay.
Move on. Braun's winning.
I think we're finally into the titles now. Aside from the pre-show, next is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy. This is so weird because the build-up has revolved around Randy Orton. So unless they're going to add him to the match at some point this week, this just feels odd. So there's no real I have no real prediction for this match. Jeff Hardy is still injured. Like, and he's nursing all these problems. So if I had to guess, I'd say Nakamura is going to be the guy who walks away with the title because he just got it.
Like, yeah, Nakamura. I got Nakamura. Like, we can't get, and yes, I'm just not.
There's nothing in depth to say about this. Like,
no,
this is the numbers.
Is there any way that we can just get Matt and Jeff all out the matches and just have them be road agents and producers? Like, can we just get them off the roads, please?
I think Matt is retired.
I want at least 2 more matches out of Jeff Hardy. I forget what they were off the top of my head, but as far as Matt goes, when I heard about his pelvis and his lower back fusing, I'm like, okay, you done.
Yeah. Like the last good match I remember Jeff or Matt having was that match with, it was Miz versus Jeff. I think it was sometime like last year on Raw, and that's the last match. And that's the last good match they've had. And the thing is, like, even when that match was happening, you could tell Jeff was like in so much pain. And I've never been a big Jeff fan, but like that dude became a top guy while I was not watching, and like, people.
He was as hot as John Cena in 2008, bro.
Yeah, people don't think, and when I talk to people about it, people don't like tell me it was ridiculous or stupid or it was like the Miz 2011 push. They think of it as legitimate. So apparently he was doing a lot of things right. Like I went through like the Edge stuff and saw like this, like him having like crazy ass matches with ladders on SmackDown that weren't even ladder matches. So like I understand how Edge got to where he was, but like I never understood the Jeff thing. But like so many people are like that watch that time do not shit on it. So like. Apparently he was doing a lot of the right things. So like it's time for him to just like lay it down, get your ass a desk job, and don't drink and drive no more, and then like call it a life.
Please.
And keep cashing checks from Vince. That's what he needs to do.
Rance, do you got a prediction?
Shinsuke's gonna win, but the story isn't Shinsuke and Jeffers. It's what is Orton gonna do? That's the story.
Pretty much. Next, Carmella as the SmackDown Women's Champion defending against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. Becky Lynch is not going to win. Charlotte Flair is not going to win. Carmella is going to win because
that backdoor heel shit.
Yep. And for the fact that Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair talked about we're not Sasha Banks and Bayley. And that leads me to believe that WWE is about to do the exact same thing with those two. So Carmella's gonna get the title.
I don't think they're gonna ruin Charlotte Flair's career now. I don't think they do that.
Well, they're not gonna ruin it, but they are gonna have them feud at some point. They sowed the seeds for that. And I will say I kind of like what they're doing like that because I'm getting vibes of Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle from 2003, which if you haven't seen is just hilarious.
It is hilarious, yes. No, I don't think Carmella's winning because, and you guys are going to kill me for this, but there's really nobody else for her to wrestle. On the face side, Naomi's all that's left. That's it, Naomi.
Yeah, put over Naomi.
They're not gonna. That's not gonna happen. Exactly. So I'm going to say the craziest of the 3 scenarios. I think they finally give Becky her moment.
It would be nice.
That's what I'm rooting for. Like I love Becky Lynch to death. Like she is to be in WWE in this era and to actually like come off as a babyface and not like come off as not and actually be endearing and not like insufferable or just disingenuous is very hard to do. And like she's one of the few that even with all this scripted scripted promo speak and saying title, all the double language of championship opportunity and emergency medical facility instead of hospital and title shot. Like, she's been able to make it work and be absolutely and be somebody that you like really like, right? And she had that quality in spades, and they actually built her with wins on TV to this moment. Like, it would be really nice to see that paid off. And she was an inaugural women's champion, and I felt like that whole feud with Alexa was bullshit, but whatever. Like, you can do this, and you can turn her heel or whatever else with Charlotte or whatever else, and you can have some good programs with her. If you but you know how that is. Like, this, you see how this company is done. Like, I can see the heel backdoor win for more heat and say I beat Asuka twice. I beat Charlotte 3 times. I beat Becky Lynch, the inaugural SmackDown Women's Champion. Look at all this heat I have.
And when you said I love Becky Lynch to death, like, yeah, I liked her until I saw that Kiki challenge video.
Oh no, but that's actually on brand for her. It, like, you see how she wrestles. You see how unathletic she used to be athletic. You can tell how like she clearly something happened to her to where she used to have athleticism and she lost it. You see how she danced like she needs some WD-40 on them knees. So like I love. Like, it's actually endearing. Like, I love Becky Lynch to death. I'm sorry. I just love her to death. Like, do you remember when
Speaking of that video, Renee Young, good lord.
how many times I think I counted. I think she clapped herself into rhythm after she got off rhythm at least 5 times.
Get out of rhythm.
But yeah, man, I hope it's Becky. If it was Charlotte, I'm okay with that too, because they just gave Charlotte the greatest win in women's wrestling history at WrestleMania, and they had her lose her title on a cash in. So I'd be okay with her winning it back too.
Man.
But yeah, we're past with Charlotte.
Asuka is not even on this show.
Well, what was she gonna do?
I'd say I would have her and Charlotte running again. Like, now, because you would shoot it from the redemption name. Okay, well, I got to find myself outside of the street.
But you got to remember, they don't have a hypothetical woman. Like, the women's mid card is a hypothetical thing. It's not anything that actually works in reality. So
it's the black middle class.
Where are they going to do it? Say again.
So it's the black middle class.
All right. So what's the next match? Woo!
Next we have the Bludgeon Brothers versus the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Now, like I said, there are some parallels between WrestleMania 34 and SummerSlam, as you would expect. And this is one of those because this is basically the same match aside from the Usos. And I can't really see what the real story behind this was, because the brothers have just been tearing it up. They've been running through everybody. Daniel Bryan and Kane. They beat the Usos at the Greatest Royal Rumble. They fought another team at
the very beginning.
Did they fight somebody at Extreme Rules? Well, we can't.
Kane, wasn't it?
Then I must be talking about Money in the Bank. You see, we can't even think about it. Let's keep going. So I think the New Day have to win the titles back, because the Bludgeon Brothers, they've gotten the push that AOP should have gotten, and
seems like it.
It's like, I don't know who made the call to give one person the reward and the other person the slight, but it's like the Bludgeon Brothers have done nothing for me as a act. They were better off when they were what? No, nothing.
Like,
they were better off.
Look, okay, so we were just talking about the Braun Strowman thing, about like, he's right up Vince's alley. He's big, he's ugly, he scowls, he roars, right? The Wyatts, or the Bludgeon Brothers, they're big, they're ugly. Luke Harper can work his ass off. So I can see, and also there's one other thing they did. When they were squashing people, before WrestleMania happened, when they were out here just squashing people, their squash matches were awesome. Like, they were murdering people. Like, you remember, I think it was after may have been Fastlane, when they squashed the New Day and the Usos. You remember how awesome that was when they beat the hell out of them?
That was at Fastlane.
That was great.
When Xavier got powerbombed on the
yes, that was great. The thing is, they beat them at WrestleMania in 5 minutes, and just like, and it's like that was pretty much they were shitting on them. Like they're pretty much a one-dimensional act. Like unless you're going to squash somebody, which is there's really nothing else there. And we haven't seen them, from my knowledge, get the time to have a great tag match either. So like something's gonna have to give if you want them to actually have some shine. Like if they were just something you want to try because Vince don't really give a fuck about tag wrestling historically, then that was something for them to try. Now it's time to actually get these belts.
Ain't no historically on the tag team stuff, bro. That's confirmed at this point.
Well, so hold on. So here, I don't believe the New Day. The New Day was the wrong choice in my opinion anyway.
It could have been the bar. It should have
been the bar.
But
the bar has done nothing, and that's the
right. But the thing is, how Vince don't really do heel versus heel matches like that.
Yeah, but you didn't have to bring the bar back as a heel again.
For real.
You kind of did, because the whole point of having the bar there is to be somebody to have wrestle the Usos in the New Day and have great feuds on or have good TV matches and all that kind of stuff. If they're also a face, and you could have turned New Day back heel because it's been long, it's been since
turned Usos face officially, because it seems like this kind of ambiguous right now.
No, they've been face.
They've been faces since Hell in the Cell. After that Hell in Some match and they came out, shook hands.
It feels a bit more ambiguous in my opinion, but I got you.
This is how you know they turn face. They have color on their shirts. I know it's a stupid thing, but think about it.
Yeah, dorks.
Think about it.
Like they don't do heelish stuff. They don't cheat anymore. I
got you. So I'm going with the New Day. You Rance, you said the Blood Brothers.
Oh yeah.
And James.
But it will be a much more competitive match than they've had in prior.
Let's pray. That it is.
You ain't watched SmackDown, Rance, but they're over like gods. Like they were like Dean the New Day were like Dean Ambrose, Braun Strowman over from yesterday over. So
what they did last week? What Big E did alone against the Bar? My God.
Yeah. But they just had another really good match with Sanity tonight. So what I'm saying is they're almost like showing you look, I understand, we kind of tried to both tag divisions after WrestleMania, but we about to get back. One of these divisions is going to be right with a good champion. And also, if SummerSlam is Brooklyn, remember the first night for the run for New Day after being unsuccessful was when they showed up at 15 SummerSlam. So this is coming all full circle. So
maybe.
I think it's time. I think it's time for New Day to be 5-time champs. I really do, and then start feuding with the Bar and Sanity and the Usos.
Just run it all again like they've been doing for the past 2 years.
Hey, if they have great matches, and they have a good television, that's all I can That's all I want. That's all I want out of for me personally. All I want is I want something to make sense. I want something to make sense, and I want stuff to actually mean something when it's in front of me. And the New Day does that consistently. Same thing.
Rance, as far as consistency goes, that's what New Japan did with the Young Bucks in the junior heavyweight division. They wrestled. Who was it? I was always seeing Red Dragon, Roppongi Vice.
Roppongi Vice.
What was the other team?
Time Splitters.
Yeah, they was wrestling them all the time. So
all the time,
you can't complain as long as it's entertaining. So, moving on to the Raw Women's Championship match between Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey.
Do we even need to talk about this?
Yes.
If it's longer,
somebody believes Alexa's gonna win.
No. It's but don't think it's some foregone conclusion that she's gonna win. She can also get. Look, they can obviously have Ronda get finished and then have her go chase after Stephanie or whoever else they bring out the Miz and screw her over again.
Ronda's the biggest star in the company.
Yeah.
And then add to that, her best friend in the company, her dad just died. There's no way God himself would have to come down and pin Ronda to lose this match. There's no way in hell.
Are you involve
God in the wrestling business no more?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Vince God. What are you talking about? Yeah, so are you saying that they would not for a second? There's nobody you won't think they for a second. They thought, what would be good, make great heat. She has her beat, and then Stephanie and somebody else comes out here and screws her out the title, and then we set up for Stephanie Rousey, WrestleMania 36. You don't think that's ever crossed their mind? I'm sorry, 35.
There's a difference between thinking of something and planning something. I think it was thought about. It was never. I don't believe it was ever planned.
I
I do
mean,
think
if
that
they do
sitting
that again,
around at the table saying, "Hey, well, so what ideas do you have?" Somebody probably said, "Hey, what if we screw Ronda and said something?" I'm sure, but in terms of plans, I don't think it was ever planned. I think it has been foregone conclusion. Because think about this: Ronda's promoting a movie, walk around with the title. Ronda's the biggest star you have. Ronda's on consistently on Colbert or Kimmel or Fallon
Yep.
or Today Show or
Mm-hmm.
Good Morning America.
Mm-hmm.
She's been representing the company and the business wonderfully
Hey, and you
as
know
the
what?
champion.
That
Come on,
all
dog.
that stuff you just said was absolutely true. And you know what? When else that was true? When she fought at Money in the Bank, and what they do to her? Fucked her.
insert Alexa, insert Rich Latta, Alexa Bliss,
No.
Lebitard style rant here.
You're absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
That wasn't true. Ronda Rousey was not a star 2 months ago.
No. They didn't fuck her 2 months ago. They wanted the big moment to happen at the big show.
Money in the Bank is a pretty big show.
Money in the
It's not
Bank is the
SummerSlam.
fourth biggest show of the
It's not.
year.
No,
It's
it's
better.
not.
It's bigger than Survivor Series.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's
Y'all
not.
know
Money
it's
in the
not.
Bank is
It's
not
not.
bigger than Survivor Series.
No, it's not.
What?
Maybe to diehards, but to the world and to the company and to the business, no, it's not.
They tried to kill off Survivor Series like 3 years ago, Rance.
Okay, but it didn't happen, and it's still considered one of the big four. It had 4 days before Money in the Bank did. It had takeovers before Money in the Bank did. Like, take off the markup for a second and look past that. Survivor Series is bigger than Money in the Bank. We like Money in the Bank more.
But they don't care about the big match. They don't care about setting up big cards at that time when they can do it. Because think about what they did last year when they put Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar on a beach pay-per-view, and then on the undercard was John Cena versus fucking Roman Reigns. They don't care about that. They'll put that on whenever they want to.
Keep in mind, that was one of like 3 matches that, like, Jim Cornette, Eric Bischoff, and what's that guy's?
Hayes.
Yeah, Michael Hayes were talking about as WrestleMania main events.
Okay.
And they all happened on other shows.
They don't care about that. Think how many matches they've given away on free TV or whatever else now. Because look, think about where they're going to be in a year from now. As they're going to be in October, by October next year, they're going to be making more money on TV shows than they are going to be on making pay-per-view. This whole model and how we have historically done this kind of stuff is going to rapidly change, and it's already started even a year ago when they were giving Nakamura Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, John Cena versus Nakamura, all on free TV. This stuff is going to be completely changed from how they're like. We can't be using like the former president for how they used to book towards the pay-per-view when they're going to be making more money on their pay-per-view. You're going to be starting getting great quality. In theory, you're going to start getting big matches on TV because they're going to be making more money off each individual TV than they do on individual pay-per-views, except for WrestleMania. So that's where we're going to be headed right now.
But none of that got to do with Ronda Rousey.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
It's going to be real fun. It's going to be real fun coming back to this conversation a year from now.
All I know is they screwed her, and they can do the same thing because they can screw her and hurt her really bad and take her off, quote unquote, off TV with an injury and have her show back up at a certain time to go chase after Stephanie. And you know they love heat, and you know they love them some average ass Alexa Bliss. So
maybe it's because that would break me, but I really hope that don't happen.
I don't want it to happen either. Like the only person they've built as an actual real life star since WrestleMania has been Ronda Rousey. This would infuriate me if they did this. But all I'm saying is don't put it past them. They won't do this because that's what they do right now.
That's kind of
all I'm saying.
Moving on to the Intercontinental Championship match, we have Dolph Ziggler with Drew McIntyre in his corner defending against Seth Rollins with Dean Ambrose. This should be a far better match. Hopefully the crowd is more receptive of it this time. However, if Dean Ambrose don't turn, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed. I don't
know about that because I think a big portion of the crowd is just happy to see Dean back.
I mean, you can always save it until the night after.
Yeah, like a big portion of the crowd is just really happy to see Dean back and involved in wrestling. You know what I mean? So I don't think the crowd's gonna be disappointed if he doesn't turn.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a bigger moment, but they're not going to be disappointed.
And on that note, who do we think is winning? I'm going to go with Seth Rollins, like especially if they're not going to put Dean Ambrose in the title picture right now. Him versus Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship would be a great mid-card feud, which would be ironic because that's how their feud started, but that's not. Yeah. But that's besides the point. Rance.
Oh man, okay, so this was a little difficult for me because I can see both. I do think we end with Seth versus Dean. I do think Dean turns either Sunday or Monday. I'm gonna say Sunday. I can see it both ways. I can see Seth winning and them fighting for the IC title, or I can see Dean causing Seth to lose and Ziggler just going on with the IC title and building to his eventual breakup with Drew. I am going to say, for the purposes of this podcast, as of right now, I think Seth wins, and in the celebration, Dean turns on him.
Yeah, I kind of had that same thought where, like, yeah, Ambrose could win. I'm sorry, Seth could win, and then like immediate rematch, and get Dolph's rematch clause out the way, if they even care to enforce that, because they pick and choose. But get out the way, and then after the win, Dean congratulates him, shakes his hand, and then whoops his black ass. And then go from there, and we can have our IC title feud.
And then we move on to the WWE Championship.
Real question: Is there any way in this IC feud I can get somehow? I don't know how y'all figure this out. Mm-hmm. Y'all can be the bookers on this. How I figure out a way to where I can get McIntyre, split off from Ziggler to be solo, so that I can have a better heel roster in the male single division. I can get Ambrose turned heel as well, or whatever else, and then like they can split off and have their own feuds with their buddies or whatever else, and do this on a separate. Yeah, I'll make the card. How do we do that? Because we need that done, because I'm sick and tired of these Baron Corbin matches on Raw. They're terrible. I can't do
that. Dolph Ziggler goes for a super kick on Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre's on the apron. He gets kicked. I think Shawn Michaels and Diesel had a spot like that in a few of their matches. As far as Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins is the reason he injured his elbow. He trusted Seth Rollins, even after everything told him not to, because of his past betrayals and all that other stuff Seth Rollins did to him. And he just ain't with it with Seth Rollins no more. He didn't say enough to him while he was in the hospital recovering and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. There's possible scenarios but I would say Dean would turn first, and then the next night on Raw, Drew McIntyre punches the hell out of the Dolph Ziggler and hits him with the Claymore.
Okay. Well, you send that off to the office, because that needs to be done. I need that now.
And then we have the WWE.
Well, hold on, real quick. Technically, Dolph and Drew aren't a tag team.
No, they're not a tag team. But
so technically, they can still get the desired effect without having to break up.
Actually,
I need this.
You can have Dean Ambrose cost. Have Dean Ambrose costing Seth Rollins, and then and Drew McIntyre helps Dolph Ziggler win, and then the next night is like as we agreed, and then no, you couldn't do that because that will make Dolph Ziggler kind of a babyface or Drew McIntyre a babyface in that situation.
Still have them back each other up, but just have separate feuds.
I guess.
It's been done before. I mean, I know it's not the most creative thing to think about, but it's been done before.
Yeah,
that's the goal of their alliance.
I think the thing is, right now, with Ziggler, this is because this is a Ziggler problem. Mm-hmm. Like if you remove Ziggler from the IC match, from the IC title picture, there's nowhere for him to go unless he turns babyface.
I'm not with another babyface.
Unless you're gonna put, like, for example, unless you're gonna do I don't know, Finn Balor chasing after the Intercontinental title again after just failing to do it a few months before.
Which might be the right move, though.
It probably is.
Be the
I
right
mean,
move.
if you're going to give him the belt, then yeah. But if not, then no. You can't be beating him no more. You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
You can't be having that man fail to get his mid card title. When the real thing is, this dude was the first Universal Champion, and he never got his title shot, and he keeps getting his ass whooped, and can't ever even get a shot. Like that'd be a bad look for him.
The lucky loser, Finn Balor.
But we really need to start because of how dire the straights are in the male single heel roster. Like we need to get the ball rolling on Ambrose, McIntyre,
Some
Dean.
legitimate.
We need some real.
Yeah.
We need some real heels besides just Kevin Owens. We really need to get going.
Well, let's pray they don't bring back the Raw Super Show next year. That's a way to fix that forever. And the SmackDown Super Show, bro. As a man who loved the brand split, I hated that. But we'll talk about that another time. Moving on to the WWE Championship match, AJ Styles defending against Samoa Joe. Any of you who have watched TNA for a second, or even know a brief thing about TNA's history, we know that AJ Styles and Samoa Joe have been going at it for the longest. They gave, along with Christopher Daniels, they gave TNA one of its only 5-star matches, if that wasn't the only one they've ever had. They've had multiple matches throughout their history. Pretty much every year they've had at least one singles match. When they came to WWE, they came up at separate times. Samoa Joe came in the summer of 2015. Styles came in the 2016 show, and he went straight to the main roster, whereas Samoa Joe was still in NXT. Kept on separate brands, and now they're finally on the same brand, going after each other for the WWE Championship. I want to say that this is one of the matches of the night, and there's a small part of me that says they're going to do some Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles stuff, but at the same time, there's not much you can really do in that regard because I don't think they would want to do the exact same program twice. So I'm thinking at this point, they're like, okay, let's give these guys the match that fans want to see. And plus, with Samoa Joe, you never know what's going to happen with this dude because he's real injury prone at this point in his career. So, and if this was Samoa Joe of I'd even say 3 years ago, I'd say they were going with him. But Samoa Joe of today, I think this feud is a placeholder. It'll get him through to Hell in a Cell, and AJ Styles is going to drop the title somewhere else. So I'm going with AJ Styles to retain.
Well, the difference between this and Shinsuke is the plan for Shinsuke AJ was for Shinsuke to turn heel, and Samoa Joe is very clearly and dominantly established as one of the biggest and the baddest. So you don't have to worry about that moral obligation or ambiguity or whatever you want to say. It's very clear. And the feud has been pretty much your family don't like you, AJ. They want you're not a good family man like you say you are. This, that, and the other. Which, by the way, I'm not the most excited about that build, but it's AJ and Joe, right? I will say this. I will say this. In terms of how the match will go, Samoa Joe has had a run of disappointing big matches recently. I think he's still a tremendous wrestler, but a lot of his biggest matches recently have been underwhelming. So I don't think you should get as excited as you.
What's been his best match so far? The SummerSlam one and the match with Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire?
Well, that Fatal 4-Way
on the main roster.
If we're going by star ratings, that Fatal 4-Way was 4.5, 4.75.
It was ridiculously overrated. I remember this because it was 4.75. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is not even close. It's probably 4.25, but whatever.
I've rewatched it, man. Maybe it's because it was picture Brock Lesnar and Goldberg versus 33 and then amplify it by a nonstop train of just chaos.
It was great.
I will say that Samoa Joe did the least in the match, if my memory serves me correctly. So
no. Brock Lesnar did the least in the match. He got his ass stretchered out and did nothing, and then came out to beat Roman Reigns. It was like, why would you beat Roman Reigns? All people in that whole match,
huh?
Yeah, James is absolutely right, which was part of the reason why I believe they were going differently. But Joe did the least memorable in the match. He didn't do the least. It's just what he did was memorable.
I remember his shot to the outside where he hit Roman, and then Braun Strowman threw a chair, both of them.
Yeah.
Bruh. So if Braun Strowman cashes in at SummerSlam, I need him to throw a chair at Roman Reigns. Just right in his face. Cat throws the briefcase to the referee. Do it.
He gonna do something crazy. I think Joe wins.
James,
it's one of those if not now, when type situation.
I say never.
So last year, looking at how Raw was, it seemed to me that this was clearly like the Raw division had clearly turned into WCW where the big boys play with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Lesnar. They moved him out of there and moved him into SmackDown Live. He is the best promo in the company right now.
Joe?
Yes. I don't think it's even close.
He's one of, if not the best.
He is just like, so for me, given that, if he doesn't, if AJ is still the champion, fine. But we're closing in on, what, 10 months?
It'll be a year like the week before Survivor Series, or 2 weeks before Survivor Series.
Yeah, I was actually, I remember, because he wanted it on the like the first week, like the first SmackDown of November. So, like, we getting real close to, he's been the champion for a year. Like, AJ, AJ is not the same AJ. It seems like it. Like, he's not the same AJ he was as much as even a year ago. If there was somebody that you want to do this with and put the title on, he'd be on the short list of people that you make champion. Like, I mean, you could do Daniel Bryan, but do you want to do Daniel Bryan before WrestleMania? If he was to stay around and do AJ versus him, like you teased it the night after WrestleMania, and then you had the discreet finish to get out of it because you knew that was a great match to tease and build towards for a year. Nakamura is the U.S. champion. Maybe Miz if he beats Daniel Bryan. But if there's anybody that's going to take it off him right now, it will probably be Joe.
All right. Yeah. And then we're going to move on to the main event, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for Universal Championship. Now, we've kind of talked about this in and out of the show, so I'm just going to point a more interesting question. Is this going to be a good match?
Meaning good, like if I press mute on the TV?
That's a prerequisite.
I guess so. I guess so, yeah. Like, because keep in mind, WrestleMania 31, we got a match that exceeded everyone's expectations. WrestleMania 34, we got a match that completely underwhelmed in a lot of areas with redundancies of maneuvers. And the Greatest Royal Rumble, we got a house show match, if we're going to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now so they've had everything from good, they've had everything from great to terrible to decent. So I guess good is all that's left.
Look, if Vince McMahon keeps putting Lesnar in matches with Brock Lesnar, eventually he is going to win. Roman said as much on the night after WrestleMania, after he got his head split open.
If I continue to be put in
matches with Brock Lesnar, I will win.
The story ends with me becoming the Universal Champion.
Yes. So I believe that Roman Reigns is telling me the truth that night. So he will be the champion. Now, I think for everybody's benefit, this match should be no longer than 5 minutes. Like, especially given what's happened to Roman this year, he needs to come out here. He needs to crack this dude.
Roman should come into the arena as the most pissed off man on the planet.
He needs to come. I remember going into WrestleMania and that whole build, and I remember Richard saying, like, dude, when Brock Lesnar's on TV, they need to be doing pull-aparts and brawls, and Roman needs to be getting the better of all this shit when it's happening. He needs to be cracking this dude. He needs to be cracking this man in this match. He needs to whoop that ass. Like, it needs to be like a 5-minute Goldberg squash match. Like, just whooping that ass
for WrestleMania 33
from heads to tails. Just dragging this dude and then pin this man and get him the fuck out of here and with his belt. And Roman needs to be like, needs to come out here as a strong champion and move on from here.
Arriva Denshi. Sayonara. See you later. Bye. Peace out.
Yes. Deuces. Yes.
I wonder if anybody knows I just made an R-Truth reference.
No.
We talking about R-Truth right now? You want to do that?
No.
Nobody can shuck and jive like me.
Okay, move on. I have some news for you guys.
Oh, what's up?
Apparently, Tanahashi officially challenges Okada and wants to put his Tokyo Dome contract on the line.
And let me guess, the reason why, because he actually wants to beat this dude, because he hasn't beat him since Wrestle Kingdom 9, right?
I want to get to the Dome only after I beat Okada. I will put the contract on the line against Okada. Yes.
Okay, yeah, because that's the thing about all these draws and stuff they've done, and also that match they had earlier this year is like Tanahashi has not beaten Okada since Wrestle Kingdom 9, so like it needs to be, so that needs to be addressed or whatever else.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. That's that. Okay.
I'm not for that.
I'm not either, but that might be how they get out of the Tanahashi match.
My thing is, I wouldn't try to get out the Tanahashi match with Okada, because Okada is a worse idea, because the dude was just a champion for like 2 years. Move on. Like
Okada don't need to touch a world title until Wrestle Kingdom 15.
Until 2020 at the earliest. Like, and I don't mean January 3rd, January 4th, 2020. I mean like Dominion 2020, like June 2020, the earliest he should be the champion again. Like we need a Naito title reign. We need another need to get a pretty lengthy Omega reign, unless you
get my boy Ishii in there.
Ishii not gonna be in there. Like, I love Ishii to death. Ishii, like I don't think, like, there are two wrestlers there are two New Japan wrestlers where like I've never seen them not have a great match, and that's Ishii or New Japan. Kota, like Ibushi and Ishii are two guys that I've never seen have bad matches. Like Ishii's not. I don't think the fans would accept him at that level, especially as well as they protected that title. Like, there's only been 5 guys that be the champion over like the last 6 years. Like, that is some real nice work. Like, the closest thing I can think of in WWE would be like the NXT Women's title
or the Hogan era.
Well, yeah, but that's a different era. I meant like in modern time. I didn't want to compare it to because you guys say like they're protecting that title like pre-98 WWE, where like you got a champion for 40-something years. There's only been like 30-something champions, and I appreciate the fact that you're trying to protect your champion and and make your top guys be the champion. And even if you're at the tippy top, you don't necessarily get there. It's not guaranteed. I
don't know how people live through the 70s and 80s. I'm trying to imagine a person up here holding the title for 5 years.
Oh, that's easy. They thought it was real.
That plus you didn't see them every week.
Yep.
That's a whole nother issue I like to bring up, but
not real quick. Not for 5 hours every single week either.
Right. Real quick before I give my prediction, I have a scenario to get out of the Tanahashi issue.
Mm-hmm.
Tanahashi fights Okada. Tanahashi finally beats Okada. And after the match, Jericho beats the holy hell out of Tanahashi, which makes Tanahashi want to go after Jericho at the Dome, for the good of New Japan or some bullshit like that.
I can see Jericho. I can honestly, even before you brought that up, like I was thinking like before the G1, I thought the final anyway, I was like Jericho Tanahashi or Jericho Okada at Tokyo Dome sounds about right. Like people are talking about like a rematch with Naito, and I'm like,
nope.
I wonder,
like, do you want him to go back and like fight
that as like? I'm sorry. I wonder if fans will view that as like the evil foreigner for New Japan.
Well, that's what he's trying to do.
Basically,
and it's working in Japan.
Yeah, like he's trying to be like the new Stan Hansen type guy. So obviously, like he's not there enough to he's probably not there enough to get that yet anyway. But like that's what he's going for.
And when he's there, he's vicious enough to where he leaves an impression.
Yeah.
To kind of end this and give the prediction, yes, what you guys said is absolutely right. The match doesn't need to go long. They need to beat the holy hell out of each other. It needs to be a big ass fight and this, that, and the other. But I don't think Roman wins. I think Brock wins and Braun cashes in. But I do think after Brock wins, Roman finally, to get his heat back, quote unquote, beats the holy hell out of him after the match and incapacitates him, which leads to the cash in. It could be Braun, it could be Owens. I don't think that's really relevant to the story.
If they have this man lose to Brock Lesnar again, like
that's my prediction.
That's gonna be
But
tough.
Brock's not gonna leave with the title, which is the key.
I mean, but that's not like the real. But yes, that does solve one problem. But like, you can fix all of this shit by making or not fix it, but like, it'd be a breath of fresh air by doing the most predictable thing in the world, which is Roman wins the title, Brock goes away like he normally goes away between big shows or whatever else, and then we can actually have a champion there all the time. The whole entire promotion the whole entire show doesn't feel like it's just missing something, because like it really is when the champion's not there, and it's even worse this time around than opposed to like the 2014-15 run of Brock. It's just like it just really feels like this whole entire show is just rudderless, like it's just aimless. It doesn't know what it wants to do. At least like, I'm not saying AJ Styles will on fire with his title on right now, because he's not, except for this feud or whatever, until this feud started happening. But at least you know what the fuck these dudes are fighting for on SmackDown. Like with this whole thing, like everybody's howling at the moon on Raw.
And I think that's the perfect way to end it. All right, guys. So
crack this dude, Roman.
Pretty much. I guess we want to plug everybody's stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at SGC Speaks. Twitter handle The Professional Pessimist, as you could already guess. I also write articles for Sportskeeda, and I'll eventually get back to doing my own podcast at some point. I'm just waiting for the right time. Also, all three of us and some other people at some point have got to do that Marvel podcast ranking the past movies, because now we got 20.
Oh, God.
And it's the perfect time to get ready to do it to lead an Infinity War or whatever Avengers 4 is going to be called. Yeah.
And Rance, you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, man, you can follow me at It's Ray Cash, REY as in Mysterio, CASH as in dollars. Follow my show, Outsiders Edge, SS. We will be recording sometime this week, probably Thursday. I write articles for the Chair Shot. It's been a while, but something's coming, and I am in talks to possibly do a new podcast on the Chair Shot with one of the guys over there, so look out for that. But yeah, a lot of new stuff coming, trying to get this good content out here.
And James?
Oh yeah, my Twitter handle is JamesBoyd87.
Plug your show, man. You back?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm so you haven't really do all that stuff for me. I don't even know how to do it. Yeah, You Social Suplex Network, where this fine podcast also hosts. You can check us out as One Nation Radio. Me and Rich talk about wrestling and whatever funny stuff that happens throughout the week or whatever else. Fun stuff. Good rants. Smart wrestling talk. That's all I got.
And don't forget to go to the Social Suplex website. The predictions for the SummerSlam pay-per-view will be up by the end of the week. And on that note, thanks for listening. See you later.
Later.